This audiobook unveils the hidden laws that shape your reality, not through sheer effort, but through frequency. You'll learn why your desires haven't come to life, how to shift timelines in an instant, and what happens when you stop chasing after life and start embodying the force that drives it. After this, nothing will appear the same. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and relentless striving, something sacred has been overlooked. Not stolen, not hidden, just forgotten. Like a seed buried beneath layers of cultural conditioning, this power rests quietly beneath the surface of your true self, unaffected by time or circumstance. No one taught you about it in school. No one stood before you to say, "This is where your real power lies." So like many, you searched outward for answers, for approval, for permission to become more. But here's the truth. What you've been looking for outside has been quietly observing from within. It has never abandoned you. It has simply waited for you to remember. You see, you weren't designed to struggle, not in the way you've been led to believe. The notion that success comes from suffering, that love must be earned, or that worth is proven through effort is a grand illusion. The truth is far more beautiful and daunting. You don't need to become powerful. You already are. Everything in your life, every triumph, every setback reflects how closely you've aligned with this truth. Reality forms not around what you want, but around who you are. And you are not just the version shaped by habits or societal roles. You are not defined by your past, your failures, or even your dreams. You are the awareness that encompasses it all, the creative force that observes, imagines, and declares. That force isn't merely human. It transcends limitations. It is divine and communicates through frequency, not words. Most people go their whole lives without tapping into this level of power, living reactively instead of intentionally. They attempt to change the world, forgetting they are the source from which it all flows. They struggle, not because they are weak or unworthy, but because they are working from a blueprint meant for someone else, one they were never intended to follow. You were designed to create. This is the beginning of your awakening. That subtle ache inside you, the one that whispers, "There's more," is not your imagination. It is the signal, the knock at the door, the voice of the divine. When you wake up, life shifts dramatically. You start to see that the world isn't pushing against you. It's actually reflecting your own self. Every setback, every twist, every failure is responding to what's happening inside you, not what you do on the outside. This realization flips the script. You stop trying to rearrange the pieces and instead become the architect of the game. This journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about shedding the weight you were never meant to carry. What remains isn't a version of you. It's your true self, the one who doesn't chase, doesn't ask, but creates. This is the essence of being a creator, and it starts with remembering who you genuinely are. A quiet moment arrives, often seemingly mundane, when you realize that all your striving has pushed you further away from what you truly desire. You exert more effort, push harder, strategize, and hustle, yet the goal always seems just out of reach. The dream flickers like a mirage in the desert, enticing yet vanishing when you finally arrive. In that moment of weariness and quiet surrender, an ancient truth stirs within you. A whisper breaks the silence. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to create. This insight doesn't emerge from textbooks or cliché self-help mantras. It comes from the depths you've overlooked in your pursuit of life. The reason your efforts seem futile isn't that you're flawed. It's that you're not aligned with your true nature. You weren't designed to chase life, plead for what you want, or audition for your worth. You were meant to project reality from your innermost being. As soon as you remember this, the chase comes to an end. When you pursue something, you signal to the universe that it eludes you, and this declaration becomes your vibration. That vibration shapes your experience. It's not personal, it's universal law. The universe responds to your dominant signal, not merely your spoken desires. Though you say, "I want abundance," your energy often cries out, "I lack it." When you express, "I want love," your vibration might insist, "I feel incomplete." The universe, in its accuracy, reflects that energy back to you. But when you create, everything transforms. You stop reaching out and begin to radiate. You don't plead for opportunities, you embody the energy that attracts them. Just like the sun doesn't beseech the planets, it simply shines, and its light is sufficient. Creation isn't about performance, it's about presence. It's the silent power of alignment, the state where your desires transform from mere wishes into parts of your identity. You don't strive to manifest these desires, you embody them. You stop trying to become and recognize that you already are. This shift in consciousness turns the outer world from a battlefield into a mirror, reflecting only what you carry inside. Those who create don't seek validation. They possess knowing, and the world reshapes itself around their certainty. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment, the quiet confidence of one who no longer plays the game of seeking. They've moved beyond needing proof because they embody it. The moment you cease chasing reality, the world of desire starts to chase you. People, opportunities, timing, all of it begins to revolve around someone who remembers their true self, not through force, but through alignment. You weren't meant to pursue dreams like prey. You were meant to breathe them into existence, to mold them from vision and step into them as though you're returning home. The power was never in the chase. It's always been in the remembering. There's a peculiar pride in struggle, and we've learned to wear effort like a badge of honor, to romanticize the grind, to glorify the pain of achievement. The more exhausted you are, the more deserving you feel. The more resistance you face, the nobler your journey appears. But beneath this story lies a harsh truth. Effort is not proof of power. It often signals that you're acting against your true nature. In the quantum world, energy is honest. When you align with your authentic self, things flow. When you don't, they don't. The friction isn't a test, it's a message. Effort, in its usual form, is a cry that says, "This isn't working," not because the dream is wrong, but because the frequency is off. You don't force reality. You align with it through resonance. When your internal state doesn't match what you're reaching for, effort becomes the gap you try to bridge through action. But no matter how hard you push, the foundation stays unstable. You're building on sand instead of standing in truth. When you're aligned, what seemed impossible turns effortless, not because the path shifts, but because the person walking it has. It's about precision in alignment that makes reality feel like it's on your side rather than against you. The right people come into your life, opportunities emerge at the perfect moment, and doors open even before you knock, not because you fought for it, but because you resonate with it. This isn't about being lazy. It's about efficiency and understanding the laws that govern creation, refusing to operate beneath them. The universe isn't swayed by your hard work. It's moved by your signal, and that signal comes not from effort, but from your state of knowing, of being, of existing as the person who already possesses what others are still chasing. Effort appears when you're not yet that version of yourself, still negotiating with reality instead of embodying it, trying to convince the world instead of commanding it through alignment. That's where the misalignment lies, trying, reaching, constantly doing to compensate for not yet being. Look at nature. Trees don't strain to grow, and rivers don't wrestle their way to the ocean. Everything in creation flows with grace when it honors its design, and you're no different. The more you align, the less you force. The less you force, the more you receive. This isn't just spiritual talk, it's a principle of energetic economics. Misalignment costs you, it drains, confuses, and delays you. Alignment, on the other hand, is efficient. It compels, clarifies, and accelerates your progress. So if you're feeling tired, burnt out, or stuck, take a moment to pause. The solution isn't to push harder, it's to realign. Because honestly, the moment you stop resisting what's already yours, it rushes to meet you effortlessly. Alignment takes care of the heavy lifting. You were born into a world that trained you to seek value, truth, and proof outside of yourself, leading you to believe you're not enough. Every system, from education to religion to media, has directed your focus to what's happening outside while neglecting where reality truly begins, within. This sets a trap, an illusion that something outside must change for you to feel safe, free, or fulfilled. You become a seeker, wandering an endless maze of mirrors, chasing reflections and questioning why nothing ever truly fulfills you. The trap of the external world isn't that it exists, it's that you believe it operates independently of you, that the world is happening to you, and that circumstances are the cause. The state you find yourself in is a result, but the moment you accept that deception, you give away your power. You find yourself waiting for love rather than embodying it. You wait for abundance instead of radiating it. You become reactive instead of creative, and everything around you feels like a permission slip you believe is necessary for your happiness. But the truth is this: the external world is merely a screen, a projection, a delayed echo of your inner state. It isn't the source of your life. It reflects your thoughts, beliefs, and identity. These are the original signals, and the world simply plays them back to you with perfect accuracy. When you forget this truth, you start trying to rearrange the mirror instead of changing the image that's being reflected. And so the struggle intensifies. You attempt to alter people, situations, the economy, and the algorithms, pouring your energy into manipulating the outer world, much like trying to push clouds into new shapes with your hands. The sky doesn't yield to force, it adapts to atmosphere, and your inner world is the weather system that shapes the sky you experience. To escape this trap, you must look inward not as a retreat, but as a return, to the place where all creation begins. Move away from the overthinking mind and toward the observing awareness. Shift from the reacting ego to the essence that directs. When you change your focus from what's absent outside to what resonates within, the game transforms. You stop merely responding to life and begin writing your own narrative. The real world you perceive is always delayed. It reflects who you once were. If you keep reacting to what exists, you keep replaying the same cycle. The escape lies in the creator within. It's simple yet radical. Stop allowing the mirror to define you. Decide who you are and let the mirror reflect that. Your power was never about what you could acquire from the world. It was always about what you could send out into it. The trap is in thinking the world shapes you. The freedom lies in understanding you shape the world. And once you remember this, you don't need to escape anything. Instead, you elevate yourself until the maze vanishes beneath you. Before you ever had the chance to choose your identity, the world started to impose it on you. It assigned you names, labels, rules, and expectations, all expressed in a language of limitation. Be realistic, know your place, fit in. These messages infiltrated you without your awareness. You inherited an identity crafted from others' fears, and along the way, you began to identify with it, but it was never truly you. What you think is your personality is often just a reflection of external influences. You have a collection of responses that repetition has programmed into you. This isn't your identity, but rather conditioning. It hides your true self beneath layers of noise. Conditioning doesn't come with any warning. It arrives wrapped in love, tradition, approval, and recognition. You learn what brings a smile, what earns you praise, what keeps you secure. Unknowingly, you start trading truth for belonging, authenticity for validation, and power for permission. You stop asking why you feel disconnected because being accepted becomes more important than being free. As a result, your true self begins to shrink, not because it's weak, but because it was never allowed to grow openly. The creator within you, wild and limitless, gets buried under phrases like, "That's not how things work," or "Who do you think you are?" So you dim your light, blend in, adapt, and learn to survive in a reality shaped by those who forgot they were creators as well. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't die. It waits, tucked beneath your habits, hidden behind your routines, quietly expressing itself through your dissatisfaction. Every time you feel like something's missing, that's not failure. It's your true self knocking, not with words, but with yearning, not with clarity, but with struggle. The ache you feel isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign of awakening. You weren't meant to be molded by the world. You were meant to reshape the world with your presence. Yet you can't do that playing a role assigned to you, instead of stepping into the identity you were born to claim. That role was designed to keep you small, safe, and silent, ensuring you follow the rules of a system that profits from your forgetfulness. To uncover your true nature, you must strip away everything that was added. This means questioning every belief you've inherited, every rule you mindlessly adhere to, every identity you cling to simply because it feels familiar. You don't gain power through addition, you gain it through subtraction. What remains when the conditioning fades isn't a new version of you. It's the original you, the one that doesn't seek validation, the one that doesn't feel the need to prove itself, the one that doesn't chase anything because it creates everything. You're not here to be what the world needs. You're here to be who you are because that's what the world has been waiting for. Once you see past the conditioning, you don't need to find your power. You remember it was never lost, just covered up. Until now, you've been led to believe that hard work is the key to achieving everything you desire. You've heard that the hours you put in, the sacrifices you make, and the pain you undergo are the costs of success. It sounds noble and honorable, but it's a misconception, a trap designed to keep you busy yet powerless. Hard work alone doesn't guarantee transformation. If it did, the most exhausted people would be the most fulfilled. Instead, they are burned out, tired, confused, and still in search of the truth. The reality no one shared is that the universe doesn't react to your effort. It responds to your energy, your frequency, your inner state. That's the signal you always send out. No matter how many hours you grind, if your internal signal is one of scarcity, fear, or self-doubt, the world around you will reflect that back continuously. Hard work is not the enemy, but when it overshadows alignment, it becomes a trap. You might start to believe that hustle is what proves your worth, that struggle shows your commitment. But in the quantum realm, that's irrelevant. The universe isn't evaluating you based on effort. It's resonating with your vibration like a tuning fork. Your results stem from who you are, not how much you do. Inner resonance is all about potency and clarity. It's knowing exactly who you are and confidently letting that identity shine without excuses. Those who seem to succeed effortlessly aren't just lucky, they're aligned. Their energy is more powerful than their actions, and so the world responds to them. When you're in resonance, your actions become inspired, no longer forced. You don't work to reach a destination. Instead, you work as a natural expression of already being there. This shift transforms everything. Now your actions come from your essence rather than trying to fill a void. You're no longer stuck on a treadmill of tasks. You're stepping through doors that open as you get closer. This doesn't mean you'll never put in the hours. It means those hours become sacred, not sacrificial. Work becomes an extension of alignment, not a way to validate your worth. Your results won't flow because you earned them through suffering, but because you've aligned with their frequency and consciousness before they even manifested. You weren't meant to chase success. That's the truth no one revealed. Success doesn't come from sweat. It blossoms from alignment in silence, starting from within with coherence, presence, and clarity. External factors are merely echoes. If you've been working hard but haven't seen results, take a moment to pause. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you might be out of alignment. Return to stillness and reconnect with your true self. From that place, let your actions flow naturally, like breathing, powerful and authentic. You weren't meant to struggle toward your dreams. You were meant to stand confidently in them and allow the world to align with your energy. Each day, you make choices, take actions, and respond to situations as if you're in complete control. Yet underneath it all, something else is behind the wheel, your subconscious, the hidden operating system that quietly drives everything you do. You didn't choose this blueprint. It was formed through repetition, emotions, and your environment. Unless you update it, it will continue to churn out the same outcomes, regardless of your desire for change. This subconscious framework influences your perceptions of what's possible, how much you believe you deserve, and how you prepare for various situations. This is why you might set goals only to sabotage them and why familiar patterns resurface, even after you've learned valuable lessons. It's not a lack of willpower, it's that the default programming hasn't shifted. In reality, it's not just running in the background, it's in charge of the entire show. Many people navigate their lives reacting to what they see, unaware that what they perceive is merely a reflection of their internal code. You respond to reality without realizing it stems from a script you didn't write. You've inherited the beliefs of your parents, the fears of your culture, and the limitations of your past, all integrated into your subconscious architecture. You may call it your personality, but it's not truly who you are. It's who you've been conditioned to be. That's both a daunting reality and a freeing one. Once you're aware of this system, you can rewrite the code. You can transform your assumptions and adopt a new identity that expresses your true self beyond the programming. Your reality doesn't mirror your desires, it reflects your defaults. It doesn't bring to life what you consciously wish for, it showcases what your subconscious expects. If deep down you believe that love leads to pain, you'll unconsciously block connection. If you think wealth is dangerous or makes you selfish, you'll inadvertently push it away. Opportunities don't slip away because you aren't seeking more. They fade because your system is wired to protect you from what it deems unsafe. It prevails not because it's stronger, but because it is you. Until you awaken, this operating system doesn't respond to sheer motivation. It reacts to repetition, emotion, and identity. That's how it was designed and how it needs to be reprogrammed, not through sheer effort, but through awareness, not through hustle, but through intention. Until what felt like sabotage shifts to a state of flow, remember, you are not your code. You are the programmer. You are not your patterns. You are the architect. The moment you stop trying to change your life from the outside and start updating your system from within, you'll grasp why things weren't working before. It wasn't you that was broken. It was the code. Now you hold the power to create something new, something aligned, something true, something that truly reflects the real version of you that's been hidden under layers of automation. There's a realization many never come to about how life responds. It doesn't wait for words, nor does it react to goals scribbled in notebooks or affirmations muttered at bedtime. It responds to energy, raw, unfiltered frequency. That energy of yours isn't a polite suggestion. It's a command, not to a person or a system, but to reality itself. Every moment, your state sends instructions to the universe, not through what you say, but through what you embody. You might think you're asking for success, love, or freedom, but your energy tells a different story. Maybe it's calling for validation, echoing fear, or resonating with lack while your lips proclaim abundance. The universe doesn't heed your words, it follows your signal, and your signal is always truthful. Your energy isn't a mere detail, it's the blueprint. The frequency you carry in your body constructs your experience piece by piece. You can't fake it, override it with willpower, or force reality to bend to your surface if your core is in conflict. Energy doesn't negotiate, it reflects. That's why nothing shifts when you try harder from a place of fear. That's why effort falls flat when tinged with insecurity, and dreams linger as dreams when the energy behind them screams doubt. The energy doesn't request, it broadcasts, it transmits, and it always attracts according to what it truly knows, not what it wishes. You see people everywhere doing all the right things, but still feeling stuck. They have the vision board, the discipline, the routine, yet deep down, their energy whispers, "I'm not enough. I'm still waiting for proof. I'm trying to earn it." Life reflects that back to them, not to punish or withhold, but because that's how the universe operates. It doesn't reward effort. It responds to alignment. The moment you shift your state, no changes to your schedule or strategy, just your internal state, everything begins to move. Doors open, emails arrive, and calls come in. They're not appearing because you've nailed the right affirmation. They're responding to a new vibe that quietly communicates, "I already have it. I already am it. I'm no longer chasing because I've become the very thing I was waiting for." This is why mastering your energy is so crucial for creation. It's not about pretending to be positive or forcing gratitude. It's about embodying the vibration of what you want so completely that reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. Not because you pleaded for it, but because you sent out a genuine broadcast. Your life right now is a perfect reflection of your predominant frequency. That's the hard truth, but it's also your power. You no longer need to manipulate outcomes, you just need to tune your energy. You don't have to chase anything. Instead, you need to radiate the version of yourself that already exists on the other side of desire. Once that signal becomes steady, your world will transform, not gradually, not someday, but instantly. Because energy doesn't linger, it commands, and reality responds. The world you perceive, the one that seems solid and objective, isn't reality. It's a reflection, a projection, a delayed echo of your inner world. It doesn't reveal the truth, it shows what you've been unconsciously broadcasting. What you see outside isn't the cause, it's the effect. a printout of a deeper code that you can't see. But since nobody ever told you this, you've spent your life reacting to illusions instead of rewriting the source. You think you're witnessing the present, but you're actually observing the past. The people you attract, the opportunities that arise or don't, the financial patterns, the relationship dynamics, they're not isolated events. They're feedback, responses, the universe's way of showing you the outcomes of your frequency. You're not waking up to reality, you're waking up to your own creation. Up inside your own reflection is the reason why attempting to improve your life by altering the outside world never truly works. You're merely trying to rearrange the mirror rather than adjusting the face that's being shown. You might find new jobs, new partners, or new homes, but the narrative remains the same, and emotional tones keep echoing. The same wounds appear in different outfits, not because life is unfair, but because the projection hasn't shifted, and the projector is you. What's real isn't out there. What's real is what you are and what you radiate. That's the core of everything, where it all begins. Yet we've been conditioned to regard the external as more legitimate than our inner experiences. We weigh the numbers, the news, the balance in our bank accounts, allowing them to dictate what's possible. But those are merely snapshots. They don't forecast your future. They reflect your past. Your energy precedes every event, and your beliefs shape every perception. Two people can occupy the same space and witness entirely different realities, as they're not seeing the world, they're observing their programming. When you truly grasp this, everything shifts. You no longer take circumstances to heart, no longer seek validation, nor react blindly to appearances. Instead, you start crafting your reality from within. You come to realize that the world doesn't need to endorse something for you to believe it. You need to believe it so fiercely that the world has no option but to mirror it back to you. This is the heart of conscious creation, recognizing that the outside world isn't as real as you once thought. It's flexible, programmable, alive, and always attentive to the authority of your inner state. So if what you see doesn't align with what you desire, don't despair or push back. Recalibrate, shift your frequency, upgrade your beliefs, and embody the version of you that inhabits the reality you truly want. Then, watch as things unfold, not because you're trying to force it, but because you comprehend the truth. What you observe is not the essence of reality. It's a reflection of who you've been, and who you choose to become next will transform everything. Consider every detail of your life. Your income, relationships, health, and opportunities. All are not random, nor are they fate. They serve as a precise, clear reflection of who you believe you are at your core, not just who you claim to be or who you wish to be, but who you are embodying. Reality responds not to your words, but to your being. Your identity shapes your reality with undeniable precision. This is the core principle of creation. Reality reflects identity, not aspirations or affirmations, but identity. Your identity defines your vibration, the energetic signature you radiate automatically. It's what others sense before you even say a word. It's what the universe perceives before responding to your desires. Many people strive to transform their lives while clinging to an identity that can't foster that change. They seek abundance, yet see themselves as struggling. They want love despite feeling unworthy, and they desire freedom while being addicted to control. Thus, the mirror remains unchanged, as the reflection always aligns with the perceived image. You can't outpace who you think you are. You might hustle and push for temporary successes, but your core identity ultimately holds the reins in the long run. This is what you revert to when effort wanes, when willpower diminishes, and when facades fade away. The mirror is unyielding. It reflects your essence. This is where many get stuck. They concentrate on action rather than alignment. They attempt to achieve a new life without transforming into a new version of themselves. The person who inhabits your dream life doesn't act, think, or feel the same way. Until your inner identity aligns with your outer vision, the universe can't manifest what you desire, not because it doesn't want to, but because that would break the law. Your task isn't to chase outcomes. It's to shift from being a seeker to being a source, from feeling unworthy to being undeniable, from wanting to possessing. Once you make that shift, the mirror responds effortlessly. not because you exerted force, but because you finally aligned with your truth. Changing your life doesn't happen by trying to manipulate the mirror. It occurs by embodying a different presence before it. The mirror doesn't choose what to reflect. It simply mirrors what stands in front of it. So stop pondering when things will change. Instead, ask yourself, who am I being that makes this reality inevitable? The truth is clear and unchanging. The world you experience will always rise to match the identity you hold, not someday or eventually, but instantly. Reality operates as a mirror, and the mirror always reveals the truth. The perspective you've been taught is inverted. You've been led to believe the world exists outside you, as a place. You are made of matter, living under rules that seem separate from you, existing in a vast reality where you're just a small piece striving to survive, fit in, and create change. This external world seems indifferent unless you prove your worth, but that perspective is an illusion, a beautifully crafted one. The longer you cling to it, the more powerless you feel. The truth is, you're not simply part of the world exists within you. You are not just a passive spectator in a fixed reality. You are the container, the screen, the projector, and the awareness that holds it all. Everything you see, feel, touch, and interpret is within your perception. You don't experience the world directly. You experience your relationship to it, filtered through your identity, expectations, beliefs, and emotions. Reality is not objective. It's seen through your lens, which means that as you change, reality must inevitably shift along with you. This explains why two people can inhabit the same city, share the same economy, or even live in the same household, yet experience completely different lives. It isn't about what's out there, it's about what's within you. Reality does not occur on a flat screen before you. It takes place within the space of your consciousness, and the principles that govern that consciousness shape the world moment by moment. The issue arises because you've been conditioned to view yourself as separate. You learn to see reality as something to navigate, combat, or manipulate, instead of recognizing that life is responding to you. You began to believe the falsehood that you're just one small individual trying to influence a huge world. That's the illusion, the trap, where the struggle starts. But once you awaken to the truth, everything softens. You don't need to conquer the world. All you have to do is shift within. The outer world as you perceive it is merely the visible layer of your inner reality, like a dream brought to life. And just like in dreams, when you change your focus, your identity, or your emotional state, the dream shifts to reflect that change. This isn't vague spiritual talk. It's the essence of conscious creation. The world you experience is nestled inside your awareness, expanding or contracting, glowing or dulling, flowing or resisting based on what you hold within. So if you feel stuck in any aspect of your life, don't search outside for solutions. Turn inward, not to escape, but to understand. Reprogram the field from which your world emerges, because you don't live in the world itself. You live in the reflection of your own frequency. Once you accept that truth, you won't need to change the world. You'll only need to change yourself, the very essence from which the world is formed. Many people navigate life thinking events just unfold. Good luck, bad luck, coincidence, random timing. They shrug it off as just life, as if the happenings around them are mere accidents strung together by chance. Yet that randomness is a myth, perhaps one of the biggest lies ever told, keeping you blind and powerless, disconnected from the reality that everything around you is intelligent, precise, responding not to fate, but to frequency. When you start to see these patterns, you realize nothing is random. Not the heartbreak, not the delays, not even the miracles. Reality isn't chaos, it's a code, a matrix of responses that perfectly echoes the signal you're emitting at any moment. The issue isn't that life lacks sense, it's that you weren't taught how to interpret it. You haven't been trained to track synchronicities, notice repetition, or listen when the same themes emerge across different people, places, or events. Those repeating patterns, messages, reflections, feedback loops from the field of consciousness are there to inform you about your vibration. When something keeps happening, pay attention. When different people echo the same words, pay attention. When the same emotion resurfaces in varied situations, pay attention. Life aims to reveal the blueprint of your existence. It's not punishing you, it's providing insight. but you can only decipher it when you stop believing things are mere occurrences and start recognizing they are reflections. These patterns prove you're not a victim of chance, you're a generator of rhythm. This rhythm is connected to your identity. When your sense of self changes, the patterns transform. As your energy rises, new rhythms appear. When you consciously begin to notice the loops you've been living in without awareness, you start to choose differently. This is the awakening of pattern recognition, the birth of the observer, the creator who is no longer asleep within the dream but is now awake, decoding every moment as a message, not a mistake. You come to realize the universe has always been communicating. It's just that you weren't listening. You were tuned in the wrong way, waiting for words while life was communicating through symbols. There's a structure behind your experiences, and once you grasp it, you can transform it, not through force, but through frequency. You can become the version of yourself that no longer needs to replay old patterns, no longer sends out the same emotional signals, and no longer aligns with the belief that this always happens to me. The idea of randomness is a myth that keeps you reactive. Pattern is the code that empowers you. When you embrace that awareness, you stop just existing in reality and start to reshape it. Not because you need to solve everything, but because you see what has always been there. Life isn't random, it's responsive and waiting for you to interpret it. There comes a moment when everything you thought was real starts to shimmer, as a deep realization cuts through the noise. Life isn't a rigid structure you must endure. It's a dynamic interface you were meant to shape. You're not moving through a static world. You're navigating a responsive mirror imbued with intelligence that reacts to your emotions, beliefs, and expectations in real time. Most people overlook this, viewing life as something fixed, something outside themselves. But awakening changes that narrative forever. You stop questioning what's happening to you and start pondering what you're radiating that life is reflecting back. The instant you enter the awakened state, everything shifts, not because the world instantly transforms, but because you recognize it for its true nature, a feedback loop, a fluid environment, a quantum space that attunes to your energy and reflects it perfectly. No judgments, no delays, no exceptions. In the unawakened state, you live by reaction, believing things just happen, scrambling to keep up. You attempt to control outcomes with sheer will, manipulate timing with effort, and manage people through behavior. It's draining because it is. You're pushing against life without realizing it's not an object. It's an interface that responds when you alter your input. And that input isn't about what you do, it's about who you are. The awakened state isn't about spiritual enlightenment. It's rooted in energetic clarity. You stop taking on the role of victim or even achiever and step into the role of architect. You come to understand that life isn't demanding your struggle, it's waiting for your signal, and that signal is your state. Shift your self-concept, and as you do, the world around you begins to transform. A conversation that once upset you now empowers you. An opportunity that felt far away suddenly appears. Someone who previously overlooked you now wants to partner with you, not because anything outside has changed, but because your mindset received a new directive. You changed the input, and now the output reflects that change. That's how it works. This is where synchronicities flourish, where messages pop up in conversations, in license plates, in songs. It's when the right people reach out at just the right moment, and everything feels choreographed. Because it is. But this choreography isn't fate. It's your energy, your resonance, your inner alignment setting the pace for what unfolds around you. Life isn't a maze. It's a mirror with choices. The awakened state doesn't involve figuring everything out. It's about tuning into the alignment with the life you want to see reflected back at you. Once you view reality as a living interface, the need to control everything fades away. Instead, you resonate with the experience you want, not through struggle, but through frequency. This is awakening, and once you grasp it, there's no turning back. You understand the code, and you are finally ready to use it. Most people go through life as reactors. They wake up, check their phones, and get pulled into the agendas, crises, and expectations of others. They read the news and adapt their moods accordingly. An unexpected bill sends them into a panic, while disrespect from someone derails them. Without realizing it, they spend their days responding to a version of reality shaped by yesterday's thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions, caught in a repetitive cycle of the same inputs, leading to the same outputs. But here's the breakthrough. You weren't meant to just respond to reality. You were meant to create it. That might sound bold until you understand how reality functions. It's not a static structure, merely reacting to your actions. It's a responsive field that shifts with your frequency. The reality you live today is simply the echo of who you were yesterday. Your thoughts, emotions, and identity have already left their imprint, and now it's showing you the results. But rather than reprogramming the code, you've been taught to react to the outcome, trying to fix what's displayed rather than altering what's coded into the system. Reacting to reality keeps you stuck in a loop. When you make decisions from a place of fear, you tend to overcorrect and try to manage what's already happened. You forget that your true power lies in your consciousness. That's where the real programming occurs. Tomorrow is being created not through external situations, but through your inner state. Not through your efforts, but through your energy. You can't escape a reality that you're emotionally invested in. You can't change what's reflected back to you if you don't change what you're emitting. The more you react, the more you reinforce it. But as soon as you stop taking external reality as absolute truth and begin to see it as the result of your own mindset, you reclaim your power to shape your reality. Programming your reality isn't about controlling every detail. It's about creating from a place of clarity. It's about deciding how you want to feel before anything happens. It's about expressing your truth instead of amplifying your fears. It's about living as the version of yourself that understands the future isn't something to predict, but something to emit. Reality is flexible. It's not your authority or your judge. It's a reflection shaped by emotion, repetition, and identity. So if you're weary of reacting, if you're tired of waiting for validation or adjusting yourself to situations that don't align with your truth, then it's time for a change. Start each day with intention and write your own script instead of passively waiting for life to unfold. Speak from the energy of the life you've already embraced and move forward with the essence of who you're becoming, not what you're fleeing from. This is how you transform reality, not through resistance, but through resonance. You aren't just a responder, you're a transmitter. The moment you shift from reacting to programming, life no longer echoes your past. It aligns with your strength. There's a pivotal moment where everything transforms, and it's not about action, timing, or strategy. It happens in silence, in stillness, in a moment unseen by others. The moment you decide who you truly are, not who you aim to be or who others expect you to be, but who you are in this moment. This inner declaration doesn't shout, plead, or justify itself. Yet once it's made, the world begins to shift. Reality doesn't react to uncertainty. It doesn't yield to indecision. It waits, not out of cruelty, but out of precision. It reflects and cannot mirror clarity until you fully embrace it, not just intellectually, but with complete conviction. Internal congruence is that deep understanding that doesn't require proof because it is proof. Most people wait for evidence before they make decisions. They wait for the money to feel abundant, for a relationship to feel lovable, for the opportunity to feel ready. But that's the wrong approach. It never materializes because the energy communicates, I'm waiting, I'm unsure, I'm not there yet. Life reflects that message back to you with perfect neutrality. However, the moment you make a decision, everything shifts. Doors begin to open, people reach out, and timing aligns. Not because you've done more, but because you've become more internally. You stop straddling different versions of yourself and step fully into the one that aligns with the life you've been dreaming of. This isn't about pretending. It's about returning to that version of you who never questioned your worth, your brilliance, your power, the version that doesn't negotiate with doubt or seek permission. This version simply chooses and allows the world to catch up. Decision is an energetic shift that creates a new gravitational field around you, attracting what aligns with it and pushing away what doesn't. That's why things fall away when you change. It's not a loss, it's a reorganization. Life isn't rejecting you, it's rearranging to resonate with the signal of your new self. Think about the most significant transformations in your life. They didn't arise from a checklist. They emerged from moments when you declared, I'm done, I'm ready, I am no longer this, I am that now. And without anyone telling you how, you began to move, speak, and perceive the world in a new way. That's identity in motion. That's the decision that reprograms your reality. You don't need to force anything into being. You only need to decide who you are in relation to it. Because once you do, you no longer chase it, you embody it, and life must reflect that version back to you. The change doesn't happen when you achieve a result. The change creates the result, beginning the moment you unapologetically embrace who you are. There's a part of you eager to heal, rise, and create with ease, but there's another part, quieter and more subtle, that resists it all. That part is the ego, and what it craves more than success, freedom, or even happiness is struggle. Not because struggle feels good, but because it feels familiar, safe, and known. The ego isn't evil, it's simply outdated. It comes from deep-seated pain, old stories, and survival habits, all shaped by struggle. So even when peace arrives, even when life seems easier, the ego doesn't trust it. It clings to conflict, thriving in drama and resistance, believing that life must be earned through effort and worth proven through suffering. It becomes addicted to a cycle of trying and failing, always just short. As long as the struggle persists, the ego has a role. It gets to fix things, to fight, to cast itself as the hero in the narrative it created around your limitations. But here's the catch. The ego doesn't seek resolution. It craves repetition. Every time you edge closer to a breakthrough, it offers up excuses to slow down, to question, to sabotage. Not out of hatred, but because it only knows how to keep you alive within the confines of your past. If ease were to fully enter, if success became second nature, if flow became your norm, the ego wouldn't know how to handle it. It would lose control, and control is how the ego defines itself. That's why, even when life softens, a part of you stirs with discomfort. You claim to want freedom, but another part fears it. You desire abundance, yet the part addicted to struggle associates abundance with loss of meaning, or worse, loss of identity. So you find yourself in a loop, delaying, working harder, not because you have to, but because ease feels unsafe. To break through this, you don't fight the ego. You acknowledge it, thank it, observe its patterns without becoming ensnared by them. You learn that struggle isn't sacred, it's just a habit. You understand that ease isn't laziness, it's a state of alignment. Then, you start making a choice to become the version of you that resides in peace, flow, and empowerment, free from the ego's addiction. This version doesn't need life to be hard to feel worthy, nor chaos to feel alive. It exists from a different center, a quieter, more honest one. The moment you shift into this space, the addiction to struggle starts to dissolve. Struggle is not your true nature. It's a narrative you've outgrown, one created by a version of you that thought pain equated to progress and suffering was the gateway to something sacred. But now you see the loop, and once you see it, it can't dictate your life anymore. You're not here to struggle your way to freedom. You're here to realize you were always free and to choose the path that reflects that truth. There's a subtle energy behind this desire that most people never fully grasp. Notice how it feels innocent at first, natural. You desire more money, love, purpose, peace. You set intentions, say affirmations, visualize outcomes. Yet, beneath all that clarity and vision lies a quiet frequency that speaks louder than your words. This frequency says, I don't have it yet, and that's where resistance begins. Wanting inherently declares lack. It emphasizes separation and highlights the distance between where you are and where you want to be. The universe responds not to your desires, but to that gap. When you're focused on wanting something, your attention shifts to the future, pulling you away from the power of now. You start to imagine how, when, and if scanning for signs, measuring progress, questioning timing, all the while feeding the frequency of absence. You resonate with the energy of not here yet, causing reality to mirror that with delays, uncertainty, and silence. This paradox keeps many stuck. You yearn for something, believing it will free you, yet your wanting keeps you chained. You think desire will draw it closer, but instead, it pushes it further away, not because desire is bad, but because the emotional state you're in is contradictory. You're seeking alignment from a place of disconnection, and that signal doesn't match. It's not desire that's the issue, but the emotional state surrounding it. You can want from empowerment or from lack, from declaration or desperation. One attracts, the other repels. The shift happens when you stop living in the wanting and start living in the having, energetically, emotionally, and internally. The version of you who has it doesn't wonder when it's coming. They don't check for signs. They simply embody, radiating a knowing so profound that life responds in kind. That's not fantasy, it's resonance. The moment you shift your emotional frequency from lack to abundance, the resistance fades and manifestation transforms into movement. So how do you go from wanting to having? You close the gap in your mind. Feel the result before it arrives. Speak as one who already lives it. Stop watching the clock. Trust the current. Decide to align your state not with the hope of receiving, but with the understanding that receiving has already occurred in your field. Now, it's only a matter of time for the world to catch up to your vibration. Wanting is a natural impulse, but lingering in it is a trap, keeping you in a holding pattern. Dreams often feel just out of reach, so let go of the emotional tension. Allow your desire to breathe without the need to grasp, and become the one who no longer waits. In reality, there's nothing to wait for. There's only you, aligned and embodied, no longer asking for what you've already claimed. Desperation can be subtle, disguised as passion, determination, or even ambition. It tries to convince you that you're focused and committed, doing whatever it takes. But beneath it all, its true message is clear. I don't believe this will happen unless I force it. The universe hears this loud and clear. Desperation doesn't draw things nearer, it pushes them away. At its core, desperation is fear masquerading as drive, and fear always repels. You might think you're acting from inspiration, but if your actions are soaked in anxiety and urgency, it doesn't matter what steps you take. The energy behind them overshadows the effort. Creation isn't about movement, it's about your state of being. Desperation embodies separation, the belief that what you need is distant, that something vital is missing, and that you're not whole without what you're pursuing. So you chase harder, grip tighter, monitor, beg, pray, and plead. Yet the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your vibration. Desperation shouts, I am not safe, I am not complete, I cannot relax until this changes. Consequently, reality reflects that feeling, confirming your fear, not as punishment, but as a mirror. Reality is a feedback loop that reflects not what you want, but who you are. This explains why those who don't try so hard often seem to receive more. It's not luck, it's because they're not energetically smothering their desires. They've created space, and their energy communicates, I trust. Trust is magnetic. Desperation is not. You can deeply want something and take bold action with purpose, but if you move from fear instead of truth, your frequency shifts. It becomes clouded with doubt, wrapping around everything you touch. Conversations, projects, relationships, even your body language begins to signal need. The world senses it immediately, even if it can't express it. Desperation isn't just unattractive to people, it's unattractive to energy. It creates static in the field because the universe responds to coherence instead of chaos, to clarity rather than clutter. Desperation creates a chaotic noise that muddles the very reality you're aiming for. So what should you do? You pause, take a breath, and step back into your awareness. Remember, the version of you who has what you want isn't desperate. They're grounded, clear, and certain. That's your blueprint, your anchor. You act from that state, not from the frantic parts of your nervous system that believe time is slipping away. You don't manifest by gripping tightly, you manifest by embodying. You don't attract by needing, you attract by being. Desperation disconnects you, so reconnect with your true self, your trust. The moment you let go of need, everything begins to shift, not because you chased it, but because you've become the version of you who doesn't need to. Every result in your life, every pattern, every relationship, and every dollar in your account started as a belief. Not just a fleeting thought, but a profound internal narrative, a loop that's been running for so long you no longer notice it. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it lacks power. In fact, it's the most potent force shaping your reality. Beliefs are not merely ideas. They are instructions that the universe follows with unwavering fidelity. A belief operates like code in the background of your mind. You might claim you want success, but if the underlying loop says, I'm not good enough, or things never work out for me, that's the script your life will enact, not as punishment, but as a reflection of you. Reality disregards what you say and mirrors what you expect. This loop originates in childhood, long before you're aware of having a choice. A few emotional experiences, some painful, some subtle, lay the groundwork for your worldview. A parent's disappointment, a teacher's criticism, or a moment of rejection, and suddenly, the loop starts. I must prove myself. I must be perfect to be loved. I'm not seen. These narratives become your filters, shaping not just what you believe, but also what you notice, attract, and accept. Once the loop is established, it starts to replicate. You navigate the world seeking evidence to validate it, and you always find it, not because the world is unkind, but because your subconscious is mighty. It filters out what doesn't align with your story and hones in on what does. You overlook opportunities that challenge your belief because they simply feel off. Undermine the relationships that threaten your sense of self because they feel unsafe. The narrative succeeds every time until you choose to change it. Here's the truth no one shares. Your beliefs don't just reflect reality, they create it. Your inner dialogue isn't passive, it's causative. It directs your energy, organizes your environment, shapes perception, and prepares action. Over time, it manifests in your life, through jobs, partners, patterns, and outcomes that seem random but are really precise reflections of the unseen belief loop running beneath the surface. So to transform your life, it's not enough to merely change your behavior. You need to change that loop. Trace each result back to the identity that generated it. Ask yourself what someone would need to believe for this to feel normal, and then get to work enhancing that belief, not through force, but through choice. The moment you adopt a new belief, you shift your vibration. You'll start noticing new evidence, taking new action, and receiving new reflections. And what once felt like hard work transitions into a natural outcome of this new internal rhythm. You don't get what you want, you receive what you're willing to believe. That belief evolves into thought, then feeling, then energy, and finally form. That's the loop, and now you have the chance to rewrite it. Your emotions aren't just background noise. They aren't mere reactions to external events. They're the brushstrokes that create your reality. Many people assume thoughts shape life, and they do to an extent. But thoughts without emotional weight are weak signals. It's your feelings that empower thoughts. This is the force of emotional gravity. Whatever you consistently feel influences what forms in your life. The stronger the emotion, the more magnetic its impact on your surroundings. You've experienced this. When you feel anxious, life tends to reflect more worries back at you. When you feel grateful, the day reveals more reasons for gratitude. It's not mere coincidence, it's energetic causation. Feelings are frequencies, and frequencies attract their match with mechanical precision. Your emotions aren't just reactions, they're inputs. They aren't feedback from life, they're instructions to life. Whatever emotion you dwell in becomes your main broadcast. You don't even need to speak a word. You enter a room radiating either resentment or positivity, and people feel it. So does the universe. That's how you shape your reality, not through outer effort, but through your inner energy. Through your inner atmosphere, emotions don't merely tint your perception, they transform your signal. They instruct the quantum field on what to bring forth around you. So if your body usually rehearses the chemistry of fear, lack, or powerlessness, that's the vibration your field emits, and that's what life reflects back. This isn't punishment, it's simply staying aligned with your command. Emotional gravity doesn't argue, it arranges. The good news is, you don't have to pretend to feel high emotions to change your reality. You just need to be honest with where you are emotionally. Many people suppress their feelings or convince themselves they're okay while secretly harboring resentment, doubt, or shame. But repressed emotions still send out signals. They still create, often manifesting the very situations you wish to avoid. Feeling isn't a sign of weakness. It's a source of power, but only when it's conscious and integrated. When you start to honor your emotional state as the creative power it truly is, you stop trying to think your way into new results. Instead, you begin to feel your way into new realities. You embody the future you want rather than just imagining it. That's where true creation happens. The version of you that already possesses everything you desire doesn't just think differently, they feel differently. They carry the energy of trust instead of tension, radiate presence rather than pressure, and that emotional atmosphere becomes their gravitational field. It attracts people, opportunities, and synchronicities effortlessly through embodiment. So the next time you experience a strong emotion, whether it's joy or fear, take a moment. That feeling isn't just yours, it's a signal. What you decide to do with it will impact more than just your mood. It will shape the very space around you. Emotions are architects of your experience. Honor them, attune to them, and let them create something beautiful. Control feels safe, which is why it's so appealing. You make plans, double-check every step, predict, prepare, and protect. You attempt to mold reality into something manageable and predictable, which gives the illusion of certainty, progress, and safety. But beneath it all lies fear. Not trust, not power, just fear masked as structure. Control is not mastery, it's resistance in disguise. The more you try to control life, the more it tends to push back, not out of cruelty, but to reveal something deeper, the wisdom of flow. Flow isn't chaos, it's not randomness. Surrendering to chance is precision without pressure, movement without force. It's that state where your energy syncs with timing, intuition, and the greater rhythm that always knows more than your plans ever could. Flow is when you stop pushing and start listening, not with your ears, but with your presence. That's where miracles happen, not because you made them, but because you let go. The illusion of control keeps you in survival mode. You micromanage your path and get attached to outcomes, stressing when things go off script. But what if that detour is the path? What if the delay is the alignment? What if your biggest blessings are being blocked by your need to know how everything will unfold? Life isn't a machine. It's an intelligence that operates best in space rather than tension. It communicates in nudges, not demands. It responds to openness, not rigidity. The tighter you grip, the less you receive. The more you insist, the less you allow. Every time you try to control what flow wants to give, you limit it to what your mind can handle, while life is trying to deliver what your soul truly needs. Flow isn't passive, it's actively engaging. It calls for trust and awareness, but most importantly, it demands alignment. When you're in flow, you aren't waiting or chasing. You're responding in real time to a deeper intelligence within you. You make moves not out of fear, but clarity. You speak not to be heard, but because your words have ripened. You act not to fix something, but because it's time. Control tries to manipulate reality, whereas flow cooperates with it. In that partnership, there's a strange and beautiful power. When you stop trying to manage every outcome, you create space for magic synchronicity and results that surpass your own scripts. You transition from being a manager of life to a channel for it. The illusion of control is loud, but the wisdom of flow is subtle, quiet, and infinitely more powerful. Once you truly feel it, you'll never want to go back, because control drains you while flow uplifts you. One shrinks your world to the size of your fears, while the other expands it to the size of your faith. Let go, not to lose power, but to finally harness it. Resistance may be quiet, but it's relentless. It appears as soon as you try to grow, expand, or dive into the unfamiliar. You set a new vision and suddenly feel fatigued. You receive an opportunity, and your mind floods with doubt. You declare you want change, but your body tenses, your thoughts scatter, and your energy retreats. That isn't hesitation, it's the resistance reflex. It's that part of you that fears losing control, leaving comfort, or becoming someone you've never been. If you don't learn to recognize it, you might mistake it for intuition or worse, logic. Resistance isn't just a mindset, it's a pattern wired into your nervous system, rooted in your subconscious from every moment when safety meant staying small. It activates automatically, like a reflex that shows up uninvited, whispering thoughts like, maybe not now, or what if it doesn't work, or you're not ready yet. It may sound like protection, but it's really a defense against change. The reflex of resistance isn't trying to thwart you. It's trying to hold on to what it believes keeps you safe, the known, even when the known is uncomfortable, unfulfilling, or stagnant. Familiarity is the territory the subconscious favors. So, whenever you reach for something beyond your current identity, resistance kicks in, not because your vision is flawed, but because your existing identity doesn't yet see it as safe. You can't fight resistance with force. That only makes it dig in deeper. The harder you push against it, the more it pushes back. What you resist only resists you. But there's another way, a method that doesn't involve suppressing, ignoring, or pretending. It's about meeting resistance with awareness, not aggression. To release resistance, you first need to feel it, name it, and acknowledge its presence without judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what is this resistance protecting? What belief is it based on? You might find it springs from an old fear of failure, rejection, or even success. Once you name it, breathe and create space around it. Don't try to eliminate it. Just stop identifying with it. You are not your resistance. You're the observer of it. From that place of awareness, you can choose a different path. Instead of bulldozing through, you can move forward alongside the resistance. Take just one small aligned action that signals to your system it's safe to change. With consistent effort, the reflex softens, the resistance eases, and your new identity starts to integrate. Release isn't about getting rid of fear. It's about choosing not to obey it. And when resistance emerges, see it not as an enemy, but as a teacher. When you reclaim your power, you stop avoiding the edge of your growth and start leaning into it. It's normal to feel resistance, but how you respond to it will determine if you remain the same or rise into who you were always meant to be. Now you know how to face it with presence, with breath, and with the understanding that it no longer controls you. Many carry a quiet belief without realizing it, that someone somewhere must approve of your success before it can happen, that you need validation, endorsement, or a green light from the world before stepping into your power. But here's the truth. You don't need anyone's permission to succeed, not from your past, your family, or the gatekeepers of your industry, and certainly not from the voices in your head telling you to wait. The moment you decide you're enough, you're qualified, and when you claim your success, it begins to claim you. This belief runs deep. From childhood, we are trained to seek approval before we act, internalizing the idea that authority exists outside of us. We live our lives waiting for signs, for credentials, for the feeling of being worthy enough to begin. But the universe doesn't operate on permission. It operates on alignment, identity, and energy. It doesn't check if others think you're ready. It responds to whether you believe you are. If your energy is saying, "I'm still waiting for permission," then life will reflect that with delays, not because you're not capable, but because you haven't asserted your right to act as if you are. Those who consistently succeed aren't always the most talented or educated. They are the ones who gave themselves permission. They stopped waiting to be chosen and chose themselves instead. They didn't question their worth. They decided they were worthy. That decision transformed their presence, posture, and voice, and life responded accordingly. You have that same choice right now, not after you've read more books, fixed everything, or felt perfectly confident, because confidence is not a prerequisite for success. It's a byproduct of ownership. And ownership begins with the understanding that you don't need to be granted a seat. You are the table. What if no one ever gives you permission? What if you just take it? Opportunity doesn't come wrapped in titles, awards, or applause. Would you still take action? Would you still rise? That's the moment you cease performing for approval and start truly embodying the version of yourself that validates who you are, the path you're on, the gifts you possess, and your voice. Every moment you wait is a moment you affirm your own limitations. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce the belief that someone else holds the keys to your success. But they don't. You do. The truth is, no one is coming to declare it's your time, because it's always been your time. The world has simply been waiting for you to realize that. So step forward, speak boldly, and create unapologetically, not because someone granted you permission, but because you finally recognize that you never needed it. There's a kind of pain that often goes unmentioned. It's not the pain of failure or loss, it's the pain of pursuit. That ache intensifies when you've been chasing something for so long that it starts to define you. You follow all the right steps, setting goals, visualizing, pushing yourself, and yet what you desire feels just out of reach. So you try harder, move faster, think more, and instead of getting closer, you feel heavier. That's the pain of pursuit. It stems not from not having, but from the belief that if you stop running, you'll lose your chance. That effort equals worth and struggle equals value. But the deeper truth is this: what you chase, you push away. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because the energy of pursuit is rooted in lack, in the unspoken belief that what you want is separate from you and must be earned, hunted, or conquered. That belief becomes your frequency, and the universe mirrors it back perfectly. You think pursuit will bring fulfillment, but it only creates friction because it's built on resistance. Resistance to the present moment, resistance to the idea that you're already capable of accessing what you desire right now through your identity, through embodiment, through an inner shift. That's where surrender comes in, not as defeat, but as power. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about releasing the illusion that force is the only way. It's recognizing that your desires already exist within a version of you. And that version isn't chasing, it's attracting, it's aligned, it's grounded in knowing. When you surrender, you stop running toward the future and start embodying it in the present. You cease negotiating with life and begin to flow with it. Working with the power of surrender isn't about doing nothing. It's about not resisting. It's about trusting that life is ready to meet you halfway, but it won't be able to if you're always trying to control every step. When you release that grip, magic flows in. You gain insights you couldn't have planned for. People enter your life and timing syncs up, not because you chased harder, but because you cleared the noise that was keeping them away. The mind sees pursuit as strength, but the soul understands that surrender runs deeper. It's not passive, it's magnetic. It's about saying, I trust the version of myself that already has this. I don't need to suffer to earn it. I just need to align with it through my being. And when you do that, what you were chasing starts to come to you. You're no longer coming from a place of fear. You're radiating certainty. You stop pulling things toward you and start becoming the version of yourself that already embodies what you desire. The pain of pursuit fades away as the power of surrender takes over, not through effort, but through embodiment, not through striving, but through knowing. That's when life moves forward, not because you forced it, but because you learned to step aside. There's a version of you that wakes up each day in a struggle timeline. It's the path where everything feels uphill, where success seems far off, love is complicated, money trickles in, and peace is fleeting. You find yourself always fixing, hustling, and managing a life that feels just out of reach. Over time, you start to believe that this is how life is supposed to be, that maybe achieving your dreams must involve suffering. But that's not the truth. That's just conditioning. Once you recognize it, you can step away from that loop. The struggle timeline isn't an inevitable fate. It's a frequency, a state of being you've gotten used to, a rhythm you've been trained into that says you have to earn your worth, prove your value, and endure pain to succeed. Here's the secret. You're not trapped in it. You're tuned into it. And what you're tuned into can be changed. You leave the struggle timeline not by solving each problem, but by stepping out of the identity that created those problems. Struggle isn't a circumstance. It's a self-concept, the internal belief that nothing comes easy, that things must be hard to be real, and that you need to be tested before you can handle more. As long as that belief holds, you remain stuck. In your core, you may find yourself unconsciously creating challenges just to feel accomplished in overcoming them. This is the addiction to struggle. It keeps you active but never allows you peace. It gives you fleeting relief, then resets the challenges to keep you occupied and in the game. But remember, the game was rigged from the beginning, shaped by a version of you that viewed ease as suspicious and flow as unearned. To break free from that cycle, you don't need to put in more effort. What you need is to disengage from a survival mindset. Stop identifying as someone who must hustle to deserve anything. Recognize when your nervous system craves effort and when your mind seeks validation. In that moment of awareness, pause, breathe, and choose a new identity, one where flow feels natural, where abundance doesn't come from exhaustion, and where receiving is safe and effortless. You shift realities by shifting your sense of self. That's the key. You establish a new energetic standard, deciding that peace isn't something you earn, it's something you allow. Joy isn't merely a reward after struggle, it's the pathway to everything you desire. When you accept that truth, the old reality fades away. People change, opportunities flow, and life becomes easier. Not because the challenge has vanished, but because you stop choosing to struggle. There's no gatekeeper, no final exam, nor invisible contract you need to fulfill before you thrive. It's all about alignment. The moment you align with ease, flow, and certainty, you leave the struggle behind. Not because you ran away from it, but because you stopped resonating with it. You rise above it. Walk into a room, and before you utter a word, people feel something. They might lean in, turn away, or unintentionally mirror you. What they're responding to isn't your appearance, your qualifications, or your history. It's your energetic signature, the invisible frequency you project, the energy that speaks before you even do. Long before what you desire takes shape, it appears in your frequency. Your energetic signature combines your beliefs, emotions, self-image, and inner narrative. It's not merely what you think at times, it's what you embody consistently. It reflects the energy your body holds when you think no one is watching, how you move when the spotlight is off, and what you secretly anticipate from the world. The world then mirrors back that energy as a result. Most people never consider this. In their field, they believe they're communicating through words, plans, and effort. However, beneath that surface, their energy conveys the true message. You can declare, "I deserve abundance," but if your energy says, "I'm scared to receive," the field picks up on the vibration, not the words. The universe doesn't respond to your goals, it responds to your baseline. This explains why some people attract effortlessly. They aren't just lucky, they're in alignment. Their energy is clear, coherent, and magnetic. They embody the version of themselves that expects good things to come. In contrast, others may work harder, shout louder, and try more. But if their energy is filled with doubt, resistance, or confusion, their results will be slow or non-existent. Your energy is always tuning, always broadcasting. Every thought, every emotion, every state you dwell in shapes the frequency you emit. You don't need to control reality, you need to tune your signal. Just like tuning a radio, you won't hear the music until you match the frequency. So how do you tune it? Start by becoming aware of what your current energy feels like. Not what you wish it to be, but what it actually is. How does your body respond when you think about your future? What emotional tone do you carry throughout your day? Is your default energy one of urgency or trust, scarcity or sufficiency, chaos or clarity? Awareness is your first shift. Then you begin to calibrate gently, intentionally, and repeatedly. Step into the state of the version of you who already has what you desire. Embody the feeling of already being there until your nervous system accepts it as truth. As your energy stabilizes, the world reorganizes to match it. Energy doesn't deceive. It doesn't wait for words or respond to effort. It moves in resonance. Your energetic signature isn't just decoration. It's destiny. It forms the hidden structure behind everything you attract and everything you push away. The moment you realize you aren't just living in the world, but also vibrating through it, you stop trying to force life to respond. Instead, you become the frequency that makes a response inevitable. You've been conditioned to think in terms of timelines, that things take time, and that your dreams are always in the distance, waiting for you to work hard enough or grow enough. So, you wait, you plan, and you tell yourself someday. But someday is a trap, because the way you've been taught to understand time is a deception. The deeper truth is that reality doesn't run on clocks, it runs on frequency. What you perceive as a delay is often just a mismatch in vibration. Time isn't linear, it's responsive. It bends and flexes around your consciousness. It speeds up or slows down based on who you're being, not on how long you've been trying. When you believe something takes years, it does. But when you believe it can happen now, you close the gap between desire and manifestation. Not through magic, but through alignment. The universe doesn't measure time, it responds to signals. The stronger your signal, the less time matters. Here's where it gets tricky. Most people tie their desires to time. They think it will take a year to heal, 5 years to gain financial freedom, or that maybe in the next decade they'll meet someone special. So the mind creates distance, the body buys into it, and reality complies. Not out of obligation, but because you projected it. Not with words, but with energy. The delay isn't real, it was created by belief. What if it didn't have to take time? What if the only barrier between you and what you want is the version of you that already has it? Not the calendar, not the future, just a shift in frequency, a change in self, a new identity that vibrates as if it's already achieved. Because in the quantum field, it already is. The timeline exists, the reality is there. You're not waiting for it to manifest, you're simply aligning with it or resisting it. This explains why some things happen instantly while others take years. It's not about the size of the goal, but the clarity of the embodiment. It's not the passage of time that brings something into reality. It's the collapse of doubt, the dissolving of the part of you that still sees your desire as distant. The misconception of time is that it's necessary for transformation. It's not. What's needed is decision, alignment, and identity. When you shift those, time bends to your will. It condenses, rearranges, and serves the energy that leads it. That's the essence of quantum leaps. Not luck, but calibration. Not chance, but choice. You don't need to wait. You just have to match. The delay is not in the world, it's in the field. The moment your frequency aligns with the now version of your vision, time no longer hampers you. It delivers you instantly. Because you finally realize that time doesn't push you forward, you move time. Most people live in reaction, waking up to immediately respond to messages. People fixate on headlines and problems that aren't even theirs, allowing their entire day to become a series of reactions to what already exists. Unbeknownst to them, they keep reinforcing the same timeline over and over, not because they desire it, but because they keep responding to it. Reaction is an unconscious agreement that communicates to reality. This is who I am, this is what I expect, so keep delivering this. And it does. But creators don't function this way. They don't simply react. They select. They don't wait to see what the world presents. They choose the timeline they wish to step into. They select their state, their focus, their emotional baseline, and through this choice, they shift the field. They refuse to respond to the version of reality they no longer wish to experience, and instead tune into the one they desire. This tuning creates a collapse of the timeline. That selection manifests as experience. Countless versions of your life are already programmed into the quantum field, the timeline where everything flows, the one where you keep missing out, the one where you thrive, and the one where you play small. None are more real than the others. They are all possibilities waiting for a match, and that match is forged through your state, not through struggle. You don't shift timelines by working harder. You shift by choosing more deliberately, by no longer reacting to circumstances as if they're facts, and realizing they're echoes, reflections of past signals. You can look at your current situation and affirm, this is real, or you can see it as mere momentum, something you can change. One perspective keeps you locked in place, while the other sets you free. Reaction means survival, keeping you stuck in a loop. Selection signifies creation, breaking that loop. The creator awakens and makes intentional choices, not just about how to feel, but about who to become. They don't question if their vision is realistic. They affirm that it's already done. They don't negotiate with fear. They take steps in faith. Their choices don't align with what they see. They align with what they know. And that knowing sends a clear signal that reality must respond to. This isn't about denial. It's about claiming dominion. It means refusing to argue with what's on the screen and instead reprogramming the source. It's declaring, I no longer respond to this timeline, I've chosen another, and then fully embodying the version of you that already exists in that reality. You're not here merely to survive the timeline you awoke in. You're here to choose the one that calls to your soul, not through effort, but through embodiment. Transition from reaction to selection, from victim to creator. Transforming from a mere circumstance to a master of choice is where the shift happens. Once you make that change, reality begins to reshape around you, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped accepting what isn't yours. The world teaches you to constantly move towards something: success, love, healing. You're led to believe life is like a staircase. With enough effort, time, and discipline, you'll reach the top. So you chase, you improve, you fix, you strive. But in that relentless pursuit, something essential gets lost: being. Being is where true power resides. Becoming tells you, I'm not there yet. reinforcing the gap between your current self and where you aspire to be. It pushes your vision to a distant future, always a few steps away. You recite affirmations and visualize, yet beneath it all, the underlying frequency remains rooted in the future, not in the present. And the universe responds to that frequency, not your intentions. Hence, your goals seem out of reach, not due to unworthiness, but because your energy is anchored in what's to come, not what is. Being collapses that gap. It asserts, I am, not in arrogance, but in authority. It brings your desires into the here and now, grounding them in your current identity. You stop waiting to become someone and start embodying the version of you that already has it. You talk, walk, think, and act from a place of wholeness, not lack. The most powerful creators don't strive to achieve success. They embody it in every moment. They aren't seeking healing. They carry the vibration of wholeness even before physical symptoms fade away. That's the distinction. One is movement driven by the illusion of absence, while the other is action fueled by the truth of embodiment. The need to become is a form of subtle spiritual procrastination, providing the illusion of growth while keeping you trapped in a cycle of almost. It whispers that you'll get there one day, creating endless timelines and keeping you in pursuit of a self that exists only in your imagination. Yet, the power to transform your entire reality resides in this moment, if you choose to be who you've been striving to become. Being doesn't mean you stop evolving. It means you stop delaying your identity. You no longer withhold the energy of your future from your present. You stop waiting for proof to begin acting as if it's already accomplished, because the truth is, it is already done in the field. Your desire is already real in the quantum. The question is whether your energy is aligned with who you are now, or if it's still stuck in that endless loop of becoming. You were meant to fully arrive within yourself, allowing reality to reflect your certainty, not because you proved it, but because you decided it was true. The time of becoming is ending. The time of being has begun. In this new era, everything you've wanted to grow into is already here, waiting for you to pause long enough to claim it. There's a version of you that knows how to survive, one that learned the rules, how to protect, perform, and prove. This version built walls, calling it wisdom, chased approval under the name of ambition, adapted, and did what was necessary to get this far. But now you're being called to something greater, something truer, and that old version of you, filled with fear and stories of scarcity, can't accompany you. This is where most people struggle. They seek transformation without truly letting go, wishing for growth without the grief that comes with it. They want to become new while holding on to who they've been. But real evolution doesn't happen this way. As long as your old self is running the show, it will sabotage your future to protect the past, keeping you in pursuit of safety instead of allowing for expansion, familiarity over freedom. The old you served a purpose. It kept you alive through heartbreak, rejection, and dark times. But now what once protected you is limiting you. It's not your truth, it's your armor. And if you want to rise, that armor must come off. Letting go of the old you isn't about fixing anything. It's about shedding the identity built around pain, the identity that believed life must be earned, the one that needed struggle to feel worthy, the one who played small to feel safe. This version weighs you down, and the true you, the one who creates easily and radiates clarity, cannot emerge until you stop nurturing the ghost of your past self. The end of that old self is not a dramatic event. It's a choice, a quiet moment of truth where you say, I am no longer this. I am no longer repeating this story. I let go of the survival role I have outgrown. From that decision, you begin to live as the one who is already free. When the world transforms, it's because you choose to stop identifying with your wounds. You let go of limitations and no longer use your past to justify why your future can't unfold. Suddenly, life begins to shift around your new energy. People change, patterns break, and opportunities flow in, not because you forced it, but because the old energy that blocked them has faded away. This isn't always easy. There will be grief and days when the old self tries to pull you back with guilt, fear, and nostalgia. But persevere, because beyond that shedding lies the truth of who you've always been, untouched, unburdened, undeniable. The old you was a necessary chapter, but that's not who you are anymore. The moment you allow that old identity to fade, the real you emerges. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. That's the essence of the law of embodied identity. It goes beyond mere affirmations or intentions. It's about becoming the version of yourself that already possesses what you desire, not just in words, but in your energy, posture, choices. The universe doesn't cater to your wishes, it responds to your embodiment. Identity shapes how reality flows. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, then abundance will feel out of reach, regardless of the strategies you employ. If your core identity is rooted in doubt, you'll undermine clarity even when it arrives. Not because anything is wrong with you, but because your energy resonates with a self-image that doesn't align with the life you claim to want. This is the gap many people find themselves in. They crave a reality that their identity won't permit. They attempt to manifest from the mind while their body still vibrates with a sense of lack, chasing new results while wearing an outdated label. Consequently, nothing changes, not because the goal is flawed, but because the self hasn't evolved. The law of embodied identity states, change your state, change your world, not someday, not when results arrive, but right now. Your present reality mirrors who you've been. To change what you see, you must transform who you are. Don't wait to feel like the future version of yourself. Step into that version now and allow the world to catch up. So what does embodiment really entail? It's subtle, emotional, and internal. It's about asking yourself, if I already had what I desire, how would I move? How would I speak? How would I walk into a room? What decisions would I make? And then living from those answers not as fantasy but as reality. You're not pretending. You're practicing the identity that makes your vision a certainty, because that version of you already exists. It's not out there in the future waiting for you to chase it, but right here and now, ready to be activated through your choices, alignment, and presence. This isn't about faking confidence or hiding insecurity. It's about choosing a new energetic home and moving into it. Once you reside there consistently, the universe begins to deliver opportunities to that address. People respond differently. Doors open, not because you forced them, but because you finally became the person who belongs on the other side. Embodiment is the invitation. Identity is the signal. Once those align, reality has no choice but to shift. So stop asking for change. Be the change, not just in thought, but in form. The law of embodied identity doesn't respond to who you were or who you hope to become. It responds to who you are now and who you're brave enough to claim. There exists a frequency that is more powerful than desire, more commanding than hope, and more magnetic than action. It is the frequency of certainty, not the loud, aggressive kind, but a quiet, unwavering knowing that doesn't flinch or seek validation. This is the law of magnetic certainty. When you move with certainty, reality bends, not because you coerced it, but because you made no space for anything else. Most people operate in a realm of partial belief. They voice their desires, visualize them, or even work toward them. Yet inside, there's a slight wobble, a subtle vibration of doubt, a need for proof, a waiting for signs. That doubt, no matter how small, weakens the signal. The universe doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your transmission. Certainty is clear, sharp, and coherent. It doesn't negotiate or question. It simply declares. Magnetic certainty doesn't mean you have all the answers. It signifies that you've made a decision. You've chosen your outcome, identity, and truth, and you stand firm in that choice, regardless of appearances. Even when nothing around you seems to be happening yet, your energy conveys that it already has. That is the magnetism, not in doing more, but in being more, anchored in the frequency of it being done. Consider the most powerful individuals you've met, those who brighten spaces and move through life effortlessly. With a calm authority, they don't shout or plead. Their presence communicates. I don't chase, I already know. That deep knowing attracts others and shapes reality, not through force, but through certainty. This magnetic certainty lets you release the need for reassurance. You stop checking for signs that life is listening. You don't wait for approval. You are your own confirmation. You rise each day carrying the energy of someone who is already successful, and because that signal is so powerful, the world begins to respond. Conversations shift, timelines align, and momentum builds, not from pushing, but because your steady state draws it in. Certainty isn't arrogance, it's being aligned. It's about clearing away inner conflict and dissolving the part of you that questions, what if it doesn't work? As long as that question lingers, the field mirrors your hesitation. That's why someone with less talent or fewer resources can achieve success faster. They're certain. They aren't waiting to be chosen. They've already chosen themselves. And that inner certainty sends out a magnetic wave that the universe must respond to. So, stop trying to convince the world. Stop looking for signs that it's working. The moment you know without needing proof is when everything shifts. The law of magnetic certainty doesn't require proof. It only asks you to decide and never look back. Once you lock into knowing, reality has no choice but to reflect the version of you that never questioned if it was done. There's a strange truth hiding in plain sight, one that contradicts everything you've learned about success, manifestation, and progress. The more you try, the harder it gets. The more you strain, the more resistance you create. The more you chase something, the more it eludes you. This isn't laziness disguised as wisdom. It's a universal law, the law of reverse effort. What you force, you block. What you hold on to, you repel. What you allow, you receive. Many people are addicted to trying, associating effort with value and struggle with worthiness. They think that if something isn't hard, it must not be meaningful, so they push, overthink, and overwork. They grip their desires so tightly that they leave no room for them to manifest. They wear effort like armor, never realizing what they're truly protecting. There's a belief that ease isn't reliable, but reverse effort isn't about doing nothing. It's about finding harmony. It's not about surrender. It's about stepping aside. There's a clear distinction between inspired action and frantic doing. One arises from clarity, while the other comes from panic. One feels like a deep breath, and the other tightens your chest. The universe knows this difference. You've experienced it yourself. The moment you stop fixating on someone, they reach out. When you let go of micromanaging a project, solutions appear. When you stop rehearsing a conversation, the words come naturally. That's not mere luck. It's the law of reverse effort in action. When you release the need to control outcomes, those outcomes start to unfold around you. Struggling implies that your desires are far away and only hard work can connect you to them. Yet when you are in alignment, there's no distance. You become the version of yourself that already embodies your desired outcome, and that version acts from certainty, not from desperation. This law doesn't imply you should lounge and wait for life to deliver without effort. Instead, it encourages you to act from a place of ease, not urgency. Create joyfully, not under pressure, and move because it feels right, not out of fear of inaction. Reverse effort means that your actions flow from your state of being, rather than filling the void created by doubt. Release the idea that more effort equates to more rewards. It doesn't. The universe rewards alignment, which feels light and effortless. When you stop forcing things, you begin to receive. When you stop trying to control everything, you let the current carry you. That's how it works. It's not mystical, it's mechanical. Once you respect this law, life begins to unfold, not from force, but because you've allowed it. Everything in the universe operates through frequency. Every thought, emotion, and belief you hold sends out a signal that shapes your surroundings. It's not about what you claim to want or scribble in a journal. If your frequency doesn't align with the life you envision, it won't come to you. Not because it doesn't exist, but because you're not in sync to receive it. This is the law of frequency matching, and it's a guiding principle. You can only experience the reality that resonates with the energy you put out. Imagine it like tuning a radio. No matter how much you turn the knob, if you're set to 88.5 FM, you won't hear what's playing on 104.3. The music is there, the signal is live, but unless you adjust to its frequency, it's as if it doesn't exist. The same applies to abundance, love, and peace. They're not things you acquire. They are frequencies you align with. Most people don't realize they're sending out waves that clash with what they actually want. They desire success, but project self-doubt. They seek love, yet resonate with fear of abandonment. They long for peace, but cling to control. When their desires don't manifest, it's not due to a lack of worthiness. It's because their signal is distorted. Mixed signals confuse the universe, which always responds to the dominant vibration, not just the hopeful one, but the one fully embodied. To harness the law of frequency matching, you don't need to change your surroundings. Instead, focus on recalibrating within. Ask yourself how it feels to already possess what you desire, and start living in that energy now. Let this frequency influence your choices, your body language, and your attitude. Embody the version of you that knows it has already received and become it. That's how you shift timelines, not by chasing outcomes, but by aligning with the life you wish to live. This isn't about pretending or forcing positivity. It's about choosing alignment as your primary vibration. It's about recognizing when you drift back into feelings of lack or doubt and gently returning to the signal that reminds you it's already yours. The law doesn't discriminate, it doesn't delay, nor does it judge. It simply reflects. If you're not getting what you want, check your signal, adjust your station, and elevate your broadcast. The moment you align with the frequency of your desired reality, the universe reacts, not someday, but right away. Because at that instant, the version of you that was searching fades away, allowing the version that already has it to emerge. That's the essence of this law. It's not about effort, but about alignment. It's not about what's lacking, but about what's currently being matched. Once you make that connection, the world has no choice but to resonate with it. There isn't just one life path. There are countless possibilities, all existing at once, like tracks playing side by side, with some vibrant and alive. With abundance, ease, and expansion, some people remain trapped in struggle, stagnation, and fear. These feelings are real and woven into the quantum field, waiting for one thing: your alignment. This is the law of parallel realities, the truth that every outcome already exists, and you don't need to create it. You simply need to choose it. You've been taught to see reality as fixed, as if life unfolds in a straight line. But the truth is, reality is fluid and responsive. It's not merely happening to you, it's happening through you. The version of reality you live in is shaped by your frequency. Each parallel reality carries a different emotional signature, identity, and set of beliefs. The one that matches your state is the one you will experience. This is why change can feel either instant or impossible. If you stay in the same energetic pattern, even your boldest actions can yield the same results. However, if you shift your identity and emotional baseline, as well as your expectations, you switch tracks, not through effort, but through embodiment. You don't have to wait years to transform. You just need to align with the version of you that's already living what you desire. Think of a moment when your life changed rapidly. Perhaps you fell in love overnight, lost everything in a day, or seized an unexpected opportunity. That wasn't random. That was a timeline jump, a vibrational shift that compressed time and altered your experience. The field doesn't require time, it needs clarity. Once you commit to a new self-concept, a new pattern of thought and feeling, the entire structure of your life begins to reflect that reality. This illustrates why the law of parallel realities is so powerful and often overlooked. People attempt to force change from the same level of consciousness that created their problems. They try to fix their lives without becoming someone new. But nothing outside of you can shift until the version of you experiencing life changes. Not because life is stubborn, but because it's precise. It will always reflect the you that shows up. So the question isn't how to get there. It's who do you need to be right now? Step into that energy. Think the thoughts that version of you thinks. Make decisions from their perspective and speak as if you've already arrived, because in the quantum field, you have. The only thing holding you back is your attachment to the old self, keeping you on the old track. The law of parallel realities doesn't require effort. It calls for alignment and the courage to release the version of you that fits a life you no longer desire. You don't change the world. You simply shift into a version where the world is already different. There's a hidden force that shapes your reality more than any action ever could. It isn't about intensity, strategy, or even clarity. It's about resistance, or rather the lack of it. This is the law of non-resistance. Whatever you stop fighting stops controlling you. When you cease resisting, things begin to flow, and the more you allow, the more life moves on your behalf. You've been conditioned to resist, to push back, to control. When something doesn't appear the way you want, your first instinct is to fix it, fight it, or run from it. Although that reaction may feel productive energetically, it does the opposite. Resistance traps you, anchoring you to the very vibration you're trying to escape. What you judge, you bind yourself to. What you resist persists. Many people strive to change their reality while actively pushing against what is. They say, "I want abundance," while despising their current lack. They say, "I want love," while resenting their loneliness. But the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your frequency. Resistance carries the frequency of tension, separation, and mistrust. It signals to the universe, "I don't trust where I am, and I don't believe I'll reach where I want to be," and so the cycle continues. Non-resistance doesn't mean being complacent. It doesn't mean giving up your vision. It means you stop viewing your current experience as an enemy. You cease declaring war on your circumstances and start allowing them to flow. When you allow, you create space. Space for your nervous system to relax, for the universe to work in your favor, for solutions you can't see when you're holding on so tightly. You've felt this before. A moment when you finally surrendered, when you stopped pushing, when you said, "I'm done trying to force this," and let go. Almost instantly, things began to shift. The call came, the idea landed, the pressure lifted, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped resisting. That's the law. It's not mystical, it's mechanical. To activate the law of non-resistance, you don't need to love where you are, you just have to accept it. Acceptance isn't agreement, it's acknowledgement. It's saying, "This is what is, and I allow it to flow." That simple shift releases the tension, removing the friction and bringing about change. You're engaged in a powerful tug of war with your own life. You're not here to conquer reality. Instead, you're here to harmonize with it, to create from a place of openness rather than constriction. The more you relax, the quicker life flows, not because you've relinquished your power, but because you've finally embraced it. The law of non-resistance teaches the art of letting go without giving up, trusting in what you can't yet see. Once you stop blocking the river, you'll realize it was always trying to carry you forward. Reality doesn't wait. It doesn't need time to think, plan, or decide how to respond. It mirrors you instantly, energetically, emotionally, and vibrationally. This is the law of immediate response. The moment you change your internal state, the field starts shifting with you. Not tomorrow, not next month, but now. Reality doesn't react to your actions. It reflects your alignment, and this reflection happens in real time. Many believe that change is slow, that transformation requires a lengthy journey with many steps. While behavior may take a while to manifest, energy shifts immediately. The moment you choose to become someone new, the universe adapts, sending you fresh ideas, new people, and different opportunities. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. The response is instantaneous. The appearance may take time to materialize, but the signal has already been acknowledged. The issue arises when people wait for external validation of their inner change. They meditate, affirm, and visualize, then look around, wondering why nothing seems different. But the field doesn't operate that way. It doesn't inquire if you're doing the right things. It asks if you're broadcasting the right state. When your state becomes consistent, the field starts to organize reality around it. The law of immediate response is not about speed. It's about synchronicity. It's about realizing that the signal you send out isn't on a delay. It's live. You're not recording your vibration for future release. You're expressing it now, and the universe is reshaping itself accordingly. You've already experienced this. When you commit fully to a decision, the energy shifts. A phone call comes, an idea pops in, synchronicities align. This isn't coincidence, it's resonance in action. The interchange occurs, and the outer world begins to adjust right away. But when you doubt, hesitate, or send mixed signals, the universe reflects that too. Not to punish, but to reveal where you're still fragmented. It's all feedback. Focus on being precise, intelligent, and always receptive. To harness this principle, tune into the moment-to-moment power of your energy. Forget about yesterday or tomorrow. Concentrate on who you are right now. That's what the universe is reacting to, and it's responding as you read these words. If you seek something new, stop waiting. Shift your perspective now. Breathe into the identity of the person who already has what you desire. Feel the certainty, the calm, the knowing. Let your body absorb that energy, and then observe. without impatience, but with presence. The world may not change overnight, but the response has already begun beneath the surface. The law of immediate response means you're constantly in dialogue with the universe. Every thought, every feeling, every choice is a signal, and reality doesn't hesitate to respond. The only question is, are you paying attention? There's hidden power in the emotions you've been taught to suppress, a quiet brilliance beneath the fear, doubt, anger, and sadness you're conditioned to avoid. You've been told to escape these feelings, to cover them with positivity, discipline, or distraction. But what if the emotions you resist aren't barriers to your goals? What if they are the very essence of creation? This is the law of emotional alchemy, the realization that your emotions are not problems to be solved, but energy to be transformed. When you transmute them, they fuel your highest ambitions. Emotion is energy in motion. It's not inherently good or bad. It's directional, and every feeling you experience vibrates at its own frequency. Fear resonates differently than love. Shame constrains while joy expands. Many try to manifest through positive thinking alone, overlooking the heavy emotions dwelling in their bodies. Yet the universe doesn't merely hear your affirmations, it senses your vibration. Suppressed emotions still send signals, even when you act as if they're not there. The law of emotional alchemy encourages you to engage with your emotions rather than fight against them. Stop categorizing certain feelings as wrong. What you suppress gains strength. What you avoid receives energy. To transform, you must feel, truly feel, the emotions that arise. Anger that seems chaotic holds your unspoken truth. Sadness carries the wisdom of what truly matters. These aren't obstacles. They are gateways to transformation. You don't need to fix the emotion. You need to acknowledge it, embrace it fully, and let it flow without resistance. To embrace it, to release the energy that's been trapped within. Every suppressed emotion holds potential. When you sit with it, breathe through it, and let it flow without judgment, it begins to soften and transform. You've experienced this, even if unwittingly. You've cried until something within you opened, leaving you feeling clear and free. That wasn't weakness, it was transformation, the release of stagnant energy, making space for alignment. The emotions you fear aren't your foes, they're a gateway. When you honor them, they create a bridge to greater power, insight, and expansion, not through control, but through connection. So if you're feeling weighed down, stuck, or blocked, don't flee. Don't rush to reframe your experience. Instead, ask yourself, what am I afraid to feel? What do I deem wrong that simply wants acknowledgement? The moment you welcome that feeling, you reclaim the energy you used to suppress it, turning it into pure, real power. Emotional alchemy transforms inner tension into outer change, not by avoiding your feelings, but by embracing their message. Once you grasp this concept, you'll stop fearing your emotions and start using them as fuel for your true potential. You've been taught to judge, to label, to categorize every moment as good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. This seems normal, even responsible. Yet, every time you judge your reality, you tether yourself deeper into it. You react emotionally, attach meaning, and unknowingly reinforce what you wish to change. Here's where the law of neutral observation comes into play. Transformation starts not with control, but with clarity, and clarity exists only in neutrality. Neutrality isn't apathy or detachment, it's awareness without emotional distortion. It allows you to witness reality without becoming entangled in it. When you judge, you say, "This shouldn't be here," and now you resist. You declare, "This is wrong," and your energy tenses up. But tension doesn't create change, it only heightens what's already present. Neutral observation is a higher form of power. It recognizes reality but refrains from assigning it meaning until you're in alignment. It gives you the space to pause before reacting, to breathe before acting. As you speak to choose, before descending into that space, you reclaim your ability to direct energy with intention rather than compulsion. The field responds not just to your desires, but to your primary focus. When that focus is clouded by judgment, fear, or frustration, that energy sets your new norm. You can't elevate your reality amid chaos. You must rise above the narrative long enough to uncover the truth beneath it. Neutrality grants you vision, clarity, and perspective. It's not about pretending something doesn't matter. It's about refusing to let old conditioning dictate what something means when it triggers you. Can you observe it without labeling it as an attack? When events slow down, can you witness them without calling it failure? When faced with uncertainty, can you remain centered instead of collapsing into a story? That center is where your power resides. From a place of neutrality, you stop reacting to life, and instead, you start sculpting it. Your energy isn't tangled in judgment, it's available for direction. That's when you move with grace and create with ease, as you are not just responding to what is, but choosing what will be. Neutral observation transforms chaos into data, triggers into teachers, and delays into guidance. It disrupts the habit of personalizing everything and grants access to your highest intelligence, the part of you that sees clearly and chooses wisely. So the next time something disrupts your path, don't rush to fix or fear it. Instead, sit in the midst of it, breathe, observe, and ask, what's the frequency of my attention right now? This frequency, not the situation, shapes what happens next. Judgment creates noise and reaction distorts reality. But neutrality, that's where creation begins. The moment you learn to hold that space, life starts unfolding, not from your wounds, but from your wisdom. Power doesn't dwell in the past or await in the future. It exists right now. Yet many people don't live here. They're stuck in loops of remembering or rehearsing, replaying what went wrong or planning for what might. In doing so, they neglect the only place where real change can occur, the present moment. This is the law of present power, the understanding that your point of creation is always now. When you fully inhabit this moment, reality begins to respond. The past has no power except for the meaning you continue to assign to it. The future only holds power through the fears or fantasies you project onto it. But right now, this moment is vibrant and magnetic. It's where your choices manifest. Your feelings create form. Your energy takes shape. The more you anchor yourself in the present, the more you draw your power out of illusion and into reality. Many people lose energy by clinging to the past or worrying about the future. They scatter their presence across timelines that aren't real, leading to weakness, confusion, and a sense of powerlessness. True power can only be engaged from this moment, not from thoughts of what was or fears of what might come. Being present doesn't mean inaction. It means acting from a place of wholeness. Your actions should stem from alignment, not anxiety, from clarity, not compulsion. You could spend 10 hours caught up in distractions, or just 1 hour acting from pure presence, and that hour would create monumental change. When you're fully present, your energy is pure and unmistakable, sending signals to the universe that it can't ignore. You've experienced that moment when time slows down, your mind quiets, and everything feels guided. That's present power. It's the state where synchronicities happen, solutions come to light, and your next steps become clear. Not because you overthink, but because you are fully present. The mind will attempt to pull you away from this moment, tempting you with questions like, what's next? Or what if it doesn't work? But that's just fear masquerading as planning. The moment you buy into that, you leave your state of power and revert to survival mode. To activate the law of present power, you must choose to stop pursuing the future and start becoming the now. Breathe into your body, feel your energy, and anchor yourself in the identity of who you truly are. When you do, time shifts, opportunities unfold, and your external reality aligns with your strong presence. Power is never absent, it's only scattered. Reclaim it. Bring all of it back into this breath, this moment, this version of you. The universe responds not to your timeline, but to your state, and the most powerful state you can embody is right now. In every moment, you're making decisions, not just through your actions, but in your identity, based on who you believe you are and what you believe is possible. What you expect from life is shaped by your decisions more than by your effort. This is the law of decision-based reality, which states that your outer world reflects the choices you've made inside, not the ones you're still debating. Reality doesn't respond to uncertainty. It responds to clarity. Many people don't realize they're continually deciding, not on purpose, but automatically. They wake up and unconsciously choose to be the same version of themselves as the day before. They decide to anticipate the same outcomes, to fear the same situations, and to live with the same limitations. The universe complies, reflecting those repetitive decisions back, not because they're true, but because they've been selected time and time again. You say you want change, but until you decide to embody a new identity, a new energy, a new truth, it will remain out of reach. You can write about it, visualize it, hope for it, or even plan for it. But if the decision hasn't been rooted in your being, nothing holds. The universe doesn't move for vague desires, it acts on conviction. A true decision doesn't come with backup plans or doubts. It's firm, solid, and unwavering. It's a declaration in the quantum field that says, "This is who I am now." Once that declaration is made, reality starts to shift. People change, timing alters, and opportunities arise, not because you're chasing them, but because your new energy is attracting them. This explains why some individuals seem to manifest effortlessly. They aren't more intelligent or spiritual, they're just more decisive. They stay aligned with their energy, don't bargain with fear, and choose the version of themselves they aspire to be. They embody that choice, think and act accordingly until the universe adjusts. Indecision is one of the strongest forms of resistance. It sends a mixed message that conveys, "I want it, but I'm not ready." Or worse, "I want it, but I fear who I'll have to become." The universe reflects that confusion. Opportunities stall, outcomes are delayed, and progress feels laborious. This isn't because what you desire isn't meant for you, but simply because you haven't fully chosen it yet. The change occurs the moment you stop trying to manifest and instead decide it's already yours. You begin to show up differently, not from a place of hope, but from a place of certainty, not from need, but from embodiment. Reality isn't testing you, it's reflecting back what you truly are. It's not your words, it's your choices. So ask yourself, who have I chosen to be today? That choice is already shaping the timeline you're stepping into, and it's happening right now. The more decisively you choose, the faster everything falls into place. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped second-guessing. Most people navigate life always reaching, always striving for the next level, the next achievement that might finally feel like enough. But in this chase, they send out a clear message to the universe: I am incomplete. That signal, more than any goal, is what gets reflected back. The principle of assumed completion turns this idea upside down. It teaches us that we don't create from a place of lack, we create from wholeness. You don't attract what you're pursuing, you manifest what you've already embraced. Completion is a feeling. It's the sense of "I already am." It's the identity of someone who no longer needs anything to become who they are. This isn't about pretending or ignoring growth. It's about embodying the truth that you're not broken or lacking. And that truth shifts everything. When you accept this sense of completion, your energy becomes pure, clear, and magnetic. You stop acting out of desperation or doubt and begin to operate from alignment, from decision, vibrating at the frequency of someone who simply allows their inner reality to be reflected in the world around them. No more grasping, no more waiting. You just live as the version of yourself who already has what you desire and thus attracts it with ease. You've seen this happen. The person who stops needing love suddenly becomes a magnet for connection, or the entrepreneur who lets go of chasing clients and becomes highly sought after. That's not happenstance. That's frequency. When you stop acting as though you're missing something, life stops treating you like you are. Yet many remain trapped in a cycle of becoming, trying to validate their worth, prove their value, and earn their place in the lives they envision. The issue with this cycle is it never concludes, as the signal is always, "I'm not there yet," and the universe responds with experiences that reinforce that belief. Assumed completion breaks this cycle. It means you show up today as if your vision is already realized. You speak with the confidence of someone who knows, moving through life not in pursuit of the goal, but ready to receive what is already in alignment. That shift in how we embody ourselves doesn't wait for proof. Instead, it creates it. This isn't about pretending to be confident or forcing feelings of gratitude. It's about connecting with the version of you that already exists in the quantum field, the one who is already living your desired reality. That version isn't anxious, fearful, or trapped. They're complete, not because everything is perfect, but because they no longer seek fulfillment outside themselves. The law of assumed completion teaches us that the quickest path to becoming is to stop pursuing it and start embodying it. Not tomorrow, not when the stars align, But right now, once you emit the frequency of being whole, the universe responds immediately, without hesitation, as if it has been waiting for you to acknowledge that you've always been enough. There's a type of power that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to be flashy, argue, or convince. It simply radiates. This is the law of silent transmission, the understanding that your energy is your most powerful message, broadcasting itself whether you speak or not. You don't attract with words, you attract through being, and being doesn't require justification, it just requires embodiment. Many people strive to be heard, to explain who they are, to clarify their intentions, showcase their value, or express their dreams. Yet beneath all that effort lies a quiet truth they haven't trusted. When your energy aligns, your message communicates itself. The right people feel it, the right opportunities come to you, not because you presented them perfectly, but because your presence carries the essence. The field isn't listening to your words, it's sensing who you are, and the vibration of your being resonates louder than anything you might convey. You don't have to tell others you're confident. When you are confident, that energy speaks for itself. You don't need to prove you're ready when your frequency declares it's already done. That's the silent transmission. When your inner state is so stable and genuine that it communicates before you even speak, you have experienced this. You've entered a room and picked up on someone's energy instantly, without any words. You've encountered someone who exudes calmness, clarity, or chaos. That isn't just intuition, it's resonance. Your field is constantly in conversation with other fields, perpetually transmitting and receiving. So the question isn't, what are you saying, but rather, what are you silently broadcasting? Most folks aren't aware of how much energy they're projecting. They may say all the right things, but beneath the surface lies fear. They attempt to convey success, yet their vibration resonates with doubt, creating a dissonance. People may not grasp why they aren't connecting, but the energy field does. It's not the words that fail to resonate, it's the underlying signal. The principle of silent transmission reminds us that our presence speaks volumes. The more aligned your energy, the less you need to say, prove, or chase. Aligned energy naturally attracts what is meant for it. It doesn't need to convince or draw attention. It simply exists, and what resonates will inevitably find it. So if things aren't clicking, stop raising your voice and start listening within. Adjust the silent message you're sending because you're always broadcasting. The question is whether it's the message of the life you desire or the fear that it's unattainable. Speak less, embody more, because your aligned silence is the most powerful sound in the room. Before any action, strategy, or words, there is energy, and that energy shapes everything that follows. This is the law of energetic primacy, the understanding that energy precedes everything else. Responses, opportunities, and actions are secondary. Your state, not your actions, creates your reality. The more you learn to lead with energy rather than effort, the more life will align itself with your frequency instead of your force. Many people flip this order, taking action in hopes the right energy will follow. They attempt to fix their mood with productivity, seeking validation through busyness, but this approach is flawed. It might yield short-term successes, but it won't create lasting alignment. Acting from misalignment feels like resistance, while acting from coherence feels like a natural flow. Your energy provides the instructions. It acts as the code informing the field what to send your way. If your energy communicates, "I'm still waiting," life will keep you in limbo. But if you embody, "I am here," the field reflects that immediately. It's not about what you're doing, it's about who is doing it, and your identity behind those actions is shaped by your energetic foundation. This explains why two people can perform the same action and achieve entirely different outcomes. One acts from abundance, while the other comes from lack. One carries self-certainty, and the other is driven by fear. The universe doesn't reward the action itself, it reacts to the energy behind that action. Energy comes first, always. You don't align by doing more, you align by being more present, more honest, more in tune with your truth. You don't hustle to find the right frequency, you pause, take a breath, and choose it. From that energy, your actions become expressions of clarity, not attempts to compensate for insecurity. Before you hit send on that email, before the meeting starts, before you post anything, Take a moment to reflect. What energy am I putting into this? If it's fear, cleanse it. If it's pressure, soften it. If it's from lack, shift it. The moment your energy changes, everything that follows shifts as well. You're not meant to navigate life like a machine. You're here to flow like a frequency, and frequencies are felt. They're magnetic. They linger in the minds of others long after they've forgotten your words. When your energy is steady, people trust you. When it's scattered, they back away. That's not personal, it's physics. The law of energetic primacy tells you to stop fixating on how much you're doing and instead focus on the energy behind your actions. The energy you lead with shapes the experience you step into. Change the energy, and everything else will fall into place. Reality aligns with your energy, not your to-do list. There's a moment in your journey when everything transforms, not because you've finally proved yourself, but because you cease asking for what's already yours. You stop praying with doubt and manifesting with a sense of need. You let go of treating the universe like a gatekeeper and begin moving as a creator. This is the shift from asking to declaring. It's not about being arrogant, it's about aligning. Step out of the request energy and into a state of embodiment. Most people ask from a place of lack. They say, I want, but their energy communicates, I don't have. They plead with life for recognition, for validation of their desires. However, asking from a place of separation only reinforces the absence you seek to escape. The universe doesn't respond to need, it responds to signal. I hope this happens isn't the same signal as, this is who I am now. To believe you must earn your desires, to think you have to work, wait, or suffer to feel worthy, creates hesitation. You whisper your dreams as if they're delicate, which only delays them. It's not that you don't deserve what you want. It's that the energy behind your request doesn't align with the reality you wish to create. Declaring is a different action. It doesn't plead or seek validation. It emerges from certainty, from decision, from being present. You don't declare what you're still unsure about. You declare what you've already claimed. The you who declares isn't waiting for the world to comply. They act as if it already has. The change occurs when you stop asking, can I have this, and start affirming, this is already mine. Not from a place of fantasy, but from a grounded reality. Because the universe isn't merely hearing your words, it's responding to your energy. When your energy asserts completion, life begins to reorganize around that truth. You felt this shift when you truly made a decision, even before seeing the results. Your body changed, your posture shifted, and you carried a new energy, leading to different responses from the world around you. Opportunities emerged, not because you kept asking, but because you ceased doing so. Seeking keeps desires external, while declaring brings them internal. It transforms your vision into your identity, proclaiming, this is who I am now. When that identity is steady, reality must catch up. You're not here to seek the universe's approval. You're here to express the part of you that already knows. When you make that shift, what you've been seeking shows up, not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. The moment you transition from asking to declaring is when life ceases to be something you wait for and begins to respond to you immediately, unmistakably, without hesitation. In that moment, you realize you were never asking the universe for anything. You were always reflecting back to yourself. Intention is the spark of creation, the quiet command that sends your signal into the universe, defining how reality should form. Yet, many intentions never fully manifest, not due to a lack of strength, but because they're often interrupted by doubts, fears, and overthinking. The true power of pure intention lies not in the words themselves, but in the clear, focused signal you send when your desire is unclouded and free. Reprogramming the mirror. Many people fail to set intentions properly. They initiate negotiations, expressing what they want, but then quickly doubt how it will happen, when it will arrive, and if they deserve it. This hesitation scatters their energy. What started as a clear intention gets clouded by mental noise. The universe doesn't overlook these signals. It pays attention and hears not the clarity of your intention, but the confusion in your vibration. Pure intention doesn't plead or fixate. It doesn't follow its request with a list of anxieties. It simply states its desire and allows it to unfold, setting the course and stepping back to let the universe respond. The purer the signal, the quicker the alignment, not due to luck, but because nothing interferes with the transmission. You felt this before, when you were decisive and clear, avoiding overthinking and micromanaging. You made a choice, held the intention, and let it flourish, and life responded swiftly. That wasn't mere chance. That was the power of intention free from interference. Interference arises not from lacking desire, but from doubt, conditioning, and the fear that if you stop controlling every detail, it won't manifest. Yet that fear is what hinders your progress. The universe doesn't need your effort, it requires your coherence. And coherence comes from consistency, understanding your own vibration well enough to leave it unaltered. To harness this power, learn the art of planting a seed and letting it grow without unearthing it to check for progress. Trust the process, trust the environment, and trust your own signal. Once a pure intention is set, the quantum realm begins to shift. You don't have to visualize constantly or repeat your intention numerous times a day. You just need to feel it deeply, wholeheartedly, and then release it with confidence, not as in forgetting, but in relinquishing control. The most powerful intentions are unburdened by attachment. They are light, precise, and anchored in certainty. This is the true mastery of manifestation. Not relentless focus, but a calibrated frequency. Not effort, but embodiment. The moment you let go of the need to dictate the outcome, your pure intention shines like a beacon, and what resonates with it starts to find you naturally. Your role is not to force, but to feel, to decide, to guide, and then to allow the universe to do what it has always been designed to do. To receive what you desire effortlessly, you must stop interfering with what is already on its way. You've been conditioned to think that achieving what you want requires relentless effort, constant micromanagement, and staying busy so the universe knows you're serious. But this belief is a misunderstanding. Reality doesn't need your assistance, it needs your alignment. Your task isn't to push things forward, but to align energetically with what you've asked for, and then let it come to you. When you try to manage reality, you often bring in control. You want to dictate the when, how, and who. But as soon as you do that, you step out of alignment and into resistance, shifting from trust to tension, from creation to interference. The very act of helping signals doubt, as if you're saying, I don't believe it will happen unless I control it. However, the universe doesn't respond to your efforts. It responds to your energy. It doesn't matter how many tasks you tackle daily if they're rooted in fear, desperation, or force. What truly matters is the frequency you embody, the identity you hold, and the emotional vibe you project. That's the blueprint the quantum world follows. You've witnessed this when you're in flow. Things align effortlessly. You're not forcing or chasing, you're simply in tune. Reality shifts in your favor, solutions emerge, and opportunities arise because you're not trying to control the outcome. Instead, you embody the version of yourself who naturally receives it. When you're aligned, reality requires no fixing or pushing. It merely needs you to exist in the vibration of completion. That version of you, the one who has already achieved your desires, doesn't obsess or overthink. They move with confidence, and from that state of certainty, the universe responds with precision. The notion that you must help reality stems from scarcity, a belief that it won't happen unless you take charge. But reality is far wiser than your plans. It's orchestrating timelines, people, resources, and synchronicities that you can't yet perceive, and it does so more quickly, effectively, and beautifully without your interference. Your only role is to maintain the frequency that aligns with the life you want to lead. Think, feel, and act like the version of you who is already there, the one who doesn't second-guess the process because that process is always unfolding. It's your misalignment that stands in the way, not a lack of action, but a lack of trust. Release the need to control the universe. Let go of the stress to make things happen. Reality doesn't require your struggle, it needs your clear signal. When your signal is unmistakable, life starts to organize itself around you, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. That's when miracles stop feeling rare and instead feel like the norm, because you finally realized your role isn't to manage the outcome, but to match it. There's a distinction between power and pressure. One flows with clarity, while the other is driven by fear. Many believe they can create results by pushing harder, doing more, and trying to enforce outcomes. They confuse struggle with progress and hustle with worth. But true creation, the kind that feels light, precise, and deeply aligned, doesn't arise from force. It emanates from frequency. You don't need to push reality into submission. Simply tune your state with such precision that what you desire must arrive. Force emerges when you lack trust in the field. It's the fallback for misaligned energy, especially when you doubt your frequency is enough. You may find yourself micromanaging every step, overthinking, trying to make it happen because deep down you fear it won't. But every time you operate from that mindset, you send out a signal of lack, not power. The universe responds not to your actions, but to the energy behind them. You've likely witnessed this in your own life. The job that came when you stopped obsessing, the relationship that blossomed when you let go, the idea that emerged when you relaxed your efforts. These weren't mere coincidences, but examples of what happens when you step back from force and allow alignment to take charge. To create without force, you need to shift your internal state first, before the plan, before the action, before the strategy. Consider who you're being, what energy you're sending out, what assumptions you hold. When you vibrate with certainty, there's no need to push. You move with precision, speak with clarity, and your field becomes magnetic, not because you're chasing, but because you're resonating. Creating results without force doesn't equate to doing nothing. It means acting naturally from the version of you that already possesses what you seek. It's not passive, it's powerful. When you're in alignment, you conserve energy, take fewer steps, but those steps have a real impact. You say less, but your words have more impact. That's not magic, that's coherence. The you who is forcing things is still trying to evolve into the you who is aligned. That decision felt in your body and present in your energy becomes the guiding force of everything that follows. Stop trying to make things happen. Instead, ask yourself, what would I do if I knew it was already mine? Move from that place. Speak not to prove anything, not to control the outcome, but to express the version of you who no longer doubts the result. Force is loud, draining, and rarely gets you what you want, while alignment is quiet, precise, and always delivers because it's rooted in the identity of someone who creates reality rather than chasing it. There's no gap between where you are and where you want to be, only an identity you haven't fully embraced yet. What you call the process, what you think of as becoming, is actually just aligning with the version of yourself that already exists. This is the identity bridge, the space between your current self and the version of you who already possesses what you seek. The quickest way to cross it isn't by trying harder, but by embodying that version now. Most people attempt to manifest from their current selves, not realizing their self-image conflicts with their desires. They seek abundance while thinking of themselves as barely getting by. They yearn for love while feeling overlooked. They set goals while still carrying the energy of someone trying to earn their worth. And so, nothing changes, because the universe responds to identity, not goals. The version of you who already has what you desire doesn't live in hope or doubt. They're not unsure if it's possible. They don't act out of fear or overcompensate with effort. They know they operate differently, think differently, and make choices rooted in embodiment, not aspiration. Once you start to embody their frequency, you collapse time. You stop chasing. The identity bridge isn't crossed through time, but through decision, presence, and daily embodiment. You ask yourself, what would this version of me do today? And then you do it. Not to trick the universe, but to calibrate your energy. You start speaking as they would, dressing as they would, choosing as they would. Choose not just as a performance, but as a statement of who you are. This shift in identity transforms everything because once your energy resonates with the version of you that already has what you seek, reality reflects that back to you immediately. In the quantum field, your identity drives everything. When you embody the person who already possesses what you want, you no longer need to attract it. You simply are it. This is why taking action without working on your identity often falls short. Those actions stem from misalignment, fear, or scarcity. But when your identity is firmly rooted, your actions flow effortlessly. You don't require motivation. You act naturally because it aligns with who you truly are. The universe stops pushing back against you because you've ceased resisting your true self. This identity bridge isn't a one-time journey. It's a daily walk until your new self becomes your only reality. The habits, thoughts, and energy of your future self become so ingrained that you forget you ever lived differently. This marks the shift from desire to existence, from pursuit to embodiment, from waiting for tomorrow to living in the now. The version of you who already has it isn't waiting for validation. They're waiting for you to wake up, rise, and step across the bridge into everything that is rightfully yours. You've been conditioned to think change takes time, that growth follows a linear path, and that manifesting requires a step-by-step approach, insisting you'll eventually get there if you're patient enough. But in the quantum realm, time doesn't work that way. It doesn't flow in a straight path. It exists all at once. Every possibility, every version of you, every outcome is alive in this moment. Time jumping isn't fantasy. It's about frequency, the art of shifting your identity so seamlessly that you close the gap between your current reality and your desired future, not through struggle but through resonance. The life you desire isn't distant. It's already woven into the fabric of existence. A timeline where you thrive, feel confident, at peace, in love, and deeply fulfilled is here right now. The only reason you aren't experiencing it is that you haven't aligned with the version of yourself that occupies that space. You don't need to wait for your life to conform to your dreams. You need to conform to your true self. Time jumping occurs the moment you stop viewing your future as a distant goal and start embracing it as a frequency you choose in this moment. Not someday, not when conditions are ideal, but in this breath, in this instant. Tune into the feeling, the stance, the rhythm of the you who already possesses what you're yearning for. When you chase your goals, you start to resonate with the energy of your desired future rather than being weighed down by your past. This isn't about pretending, it's about being precise. You don't act as if you're the future you. You embody that version through your choices, your tone, and your pace. You dress the way they would, move into spaces as they would, and speak with their voice. It's about being grounded, not grasping. This shift in your essence is what bends time, not by taking action for validation, but by embodying your alignment. You may have already felt these time shifts, moments where everything changed so rapidly it felt unreal. You released an old version of yourself, and suddenly everything fell into place. New opportunities, relationships, breakthroughs. This isn't luck, it's a vibrational shift. You transitioned from one reality to another, not through effort but through identity. Consistency is key. The more you align yourself with the timeline you desire, the more it solidifies. Reality responds, not just with isolated moments, but with a flow of momentum. You'll start seeing signs, synchronicities, and outcomes that seem to come too quickly. That's because you're not operating under linear time anymore. You're resonating, and resonance doesn't wait. You don't need to wait for time to create change. What you need is decision and clarity. You have to feel the energy of where you're headed so intensely that your current situation must shift. You're not just pursuing your future, you're bringing it into your present by embodying the version of you who already exists there. That's how you leap across timelines, and you're the portal for that shift. Before anything shows up in your life, it first appears in your energy. The opportunities, relationships, wealth, and moments you seek are already in motion. You've sent out the signal that makes them possible. This is why energy precedes events. Reality doesn't just come into being. It reflects and mirrors the tone, emotion, and frequency you embody right now. Not the one you hope to project when everything aligns, but the one you express in your baseline state. Many people try to achieve results just through action. They take steps, follow strategies, and do what they think they should, yet they wonder why their outcomes don't match. It's not that they're doing it wrong, it's that their energy hasn't aligned with the version of themselves that would naturally have those results. The universe can't manifest what your energy hasn't yet recognized. You don't attract what you want. You attract what your nervous system considers normal, what your body and energy are accustomed to as safe and familiar. That's why achieving new results requires more than just altering your behavior. It demands a new energetic identity that resonates with the reality you claim to be ready for. Everything around you now is old information, reflecting who you were days, weeks, or months ago. Your job, the people in your life, the ease or struggle of your experiences, all are delayed feedback from your past energy. This isn't punishment, it's precision. You're never truly stuck. You're merely watching a replay of an outdated broadcast. The instant you shift the signal, the outcomes must change, but you need to maintain that new frequency long enough for everything to adjust. This is why personal development is essential. It's the foundation. The clearer your energy is, the quicker your life mirrors that clarity. It's not about doing more, it's about your signal becoming consistent. There's no conflict or friction between what you desire and what your energy is projecting. In that harmony, reality responds more swiftly and smoothly. You've experienced this before, the moment you released fear and unlocked potential, or the day clarity replaced doubt. That wasn't just chance, it was energy shifting first, leading to events manifesting later. The universe doesn't require time, it needs resonance. If you're waiting for external changes to feel different, you're missing the essence. Feel different first. Align yourself first. You must become the match for what you want before it materializes. Once you consistently embody that identity, the universe cannot help but deliver. Events don't change the energy. Energy creates the events. You don't wait for a new experience to transform into the new you. You become that new you, and the experience must follow. Not because you forced it, but because the energy has already arrived and everything else is just catching up. There comes a point when the waiting stops. You cease seeking proof of your path or needing signs from the universe to affirm your next move. That moment is when you understand you were never meant to chase signs. You were meant to embody them. This shift from searching for external validation to embracing your internal certainty speaks volumes. Here's when you stop awaiting signs. Start becoming the signal that most people are seeking outside themselves. They scan their surroundings for repeating numbers, meaningful coincidences, or signs to guide their actions. In doing this, they relinquish their power, waiting for permission instead of standing firmly in their own truth. They hesitate when a sign doesn't appear or doubt everything when it does, leading to confusion instead of clarity and dependency instead of alignment. The reality is, the universe mirrors your dominant state. If you're uncertain, it reflects that back to you. If you're in a holding pattern, it prolongs that state. But once you make a decision with complete energy and confidence, you stop needing signs. You begin to lead with your frequency. You move from asking, "Is this right?" to declaring, "This is who I am." Reality doesn't contest that, it aligns with it. Becoming the signal means you no longer seek external validation for your intuition. You trust yourself so deeply that your mere presence sends a powerful message, not just to others, but to the universe itself. Clarity becomes your guiding force, and your decisions ignite change. Those who seem guided aren't perpetually searching for signs. They are clear, aligned, and grounded in their chosen identity, and the world responds to that clarity quickly, with direction and support. They didn't wait for proof, they became the proof. You've likely felt this shift. It's when you stop second-guessing and just take action that doors open and resources manifest. It's not because the universe just approved of you, it's because you stopped diluting your own signal. You stopped waiting. While signs can be uplifting and supportive, they are meant to mirror your essence, not provide a roadmap. If you constantly seek a sign, what you're truly expressing is a lack of trust in your own intuition. That's the signal the universe picks up on. So flip the narrative. Don't chase synchronicities, create them. Become the version of yourself that walks in such alignment that signs follow instead of lead. Let clarity emerge, not from a quest, but from the radiant energy you emit. When you stop waiting for signs and start becoming the signal, life moves beyond testing your readiness and begins responding to your embodiment. You aren't here to ponder if you're aligned. You're here to make a decision and watch as the world shifts to match that choice. Your signal is always there, unyielding and distinct. There's a moment on your journey when you realize you've been overexerting yourself, not from weakness, but due to misalignment. You've been pushing against the current instead of moving with it. Even with clear intentions and valid goals, something always feels just beyond your grasp. That's when you're called to delve deeper, not to exert more effort, but to fully embody your existence. This marks the end of frantic striving and the dawn of true knowing. Striving often stems from doubt, signaling that you don't trust the process to unfold without force. It manifests as tension in your body, overthinking in your mind, and hustle in your habits, driven by fear disguised as discipline. While it may yield results, those results tend to be fragile, short-lived, or exhausting, because when you push your way into reality, you carry the burden of maintaining it. On the other hand, embodied knowing is a different experience. It doesn't chase, it radiates. When you are deeply rooted in who you've decided to be, reality starts to align with your energy. You don't need to prove yourself, perform, or pursue. You simply exist, and that essence attracts everything you desire. This knowing doesn't rely on logic or external approval. It's felt in your body well before it manifests in tangible outcomes. It's that powerful moment you realize, I am this now. From this assured state, your actions become minimal yet impactful. You're no longer striving to obtain something. You've transformed into the person who already has it, and that revelation changes everything. You've experienced this before. The moment you stopped trying to impress others and showed up authentically, and everything clicked. Or when you let go of obsessing over your next move, and suddenly, clarity appeared. That wasn't magic, that was embodiment. A moment when your energy aligned with your truth, and the world responded instantly. The more you struggle, the more you imply that you're not enough. But the more you embody who you are, the more you affirm your worth. The field doesn't reward your effort, it mirrors your state. Embodied knowing is the most powerful state because it doesn't plead for change or battle for transformation. It is the transformation itself. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It simply means your actions become natural extensions of your identity, flowing effortlessly from within. With precision and grace, not because you're putting in more effort, but because you finally let go of the need to try. The end of striving isn't the end of ambition, it's the start of sovereignty. It's that moment when you understand you don't need to become anything. You only need to remember who you are, what you possess, and what unfolds when you stop pursuing alignment and start embodying it. Fully, boldly, powerfully, absolutely unstoppable. You don't have to shout to be heard, nor do you need to explain yourself to be understood. Your desires don't need to be declared to the world for them to manifest. The most potent signal you can transmit is one that requires no sound at all. This is about commanding reality through quiet certainty, the energy of total inner conviction. This is the law of magnetic certainty, moving the field effortlessly, silently, without the need for an announcement. Silent knowing doesn't try to persuade, doesn't search for signs, and doesn't second guess. It simply exists, embodying a state that declares it's done before anything materializes. It may not be loud, but it's unshakable. You walk differently, you breathe differently, and the world begins to reflect that change. Not because you're forcing it, but because your frequency is undeniable. Many people attempt to shape their reality through their voice, using affirmations, scripting, and vision boards. These tools can be helpful, but only when grounded in truth, and truth arises from embodiment. If your words convey one thing, but your energy radiates uncertainty, the field responds to your energy every single time. Reality doesn't react to noise, it responds to coherence. Silent knowing is coherence in its purest essence, vibrating at already aligned, already worthy, already receiving. There's no need to shout it out, for the field is already adjusting. Reality shifts not when you talk about what you desire, but when you become the version of yourself who doesn't need to ask. You've seen this in others. The person who walks into a room says little, yet their presence alters the atmosphere. You may not even know why, but you trust them, you feel them. That's not just charisma, it's certainty. It's their silent knowing commanding the space effortlessly. You've experienced it too, those times when you stopped trying and simply knew, when you made a decision without speaking, yet everything began to align. The moment you said nothing but walked in the energy of already being. Mine, and then something shifted. This wasn't mere coincidence, it was resonance, the universe responding to a signal too pure to overlook. It's about commanding reality through silent awareness. You don't need a flawless mindset. You require a practiced embodiment. Step into the feeling of having achieved your desires and let that suffice. Stop debating with the cosmos. Cease narrating your doubts. Move in stillness. Yet, that stillness holds weight. The strongest frequency is the one that remains unwavering, and silent knowing stands firm. It doesn't need proof. It brings proof into existence. It doesn't wish. It grounds you. You don't have to announce who you are to the world. You must remember it so profoundly that the world has no choice but to respond, not because you declared it, but because you truly became it. Commanding reality isn't about force, it's about frequency. The most potent frequency is the one that stands silently and absolutely in truth. Most people kick off their day in reaction mode. They grab their phones, check messages, and absorb the world's energy before even tuning into their own. From the very moment they wake up, they start responding to noise, to expectations, to a momentum that isn't theirs. In doing this, they unconsciously step into someone else's timeline. But as a creator, you don't start your day like that. You program it with intention and awareness, beginning from within. Programming your day isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about defining who you are before the world tries to dictate that for you. It's about tuning your energetic frequency so precisely that reality starts to align itself with your signal instead of your circumstances. It's not about what occurs today, it's about who you choose to be as it unfolds. Before the world can pull you into familiar patterns, you take a moment to pause, breathe, and choose. You sink into the version of yourself who is already aligned, already powerful, already in reception. You don't need to meditate for an hour or chant countless affirmations. You simply connect with your core frequency, the sound of your truth, and let it fill your being. As a creator, programming your day means you don't wait to see how things turn out. You decide how they will unfold, not with rigid expectations, but with energetic clarity. You declare, I navigate this day with ease. I exude certainty. I receive what is already mine. And then you step into the world, not searching for proof, but knowing you are the proof. This isn't about forcing outcomes, it's about embodying your truth. When you align with your true identity, you stop trying to predict every moment and start becoming the version of yourself that handles each situation with grace. Because your energy is stable, the chaos around you loses its hold. You're no longer just reacting to reality, you're creating it moment by moment, breath by breath. You've felt this before. Those days when everything flowed effortlessly, when people responded differently, when opportunities seemed to appear out of nowhere. Those instances weren't random. They were the result of your internal harmony. Your energy was aligned, and reality reflected that. This practice doesn't begin with your to-do list. It starts with your to-be list. Who will you choose to be today? Grounded, confident, magnetic. You don't wait to feel those qualities. You embody them first. And when challenges arise, you don't fall back into old reactions. You recall your true essence and what you've chosen for yourself. Your day isn't scripted by your circumstances. It's a design crafted by your state of being. So write it intentionally, articulate your desires clearly, and hold that energy with presence. You don't need to chase alignment throughout the day if you start your day as alignment itself. When you set your day as a creator, life no longer throws you off course. It meets you at the frequency you've chosen. Remember, reality responds to the one who codes it first, and that's you. It's easy to feel aligned when everything is going smoothly, when money flows, when support surrounds you, when the path is clear. In those effortless moments, holding on to the frequency of your highest self feels natural. But what happens when it's not so easy? When life feels loud, unpredictable, or unstable? That's when most people revert to survival mode, fear, and old identities. The true power of a creator lies not just in summoning strength during calm, but in maintaining it amid chaos. Chaos isn't the enemy, it's a mirror. It shows you the parts of yourself that are still conditional, that are waiting for external validations to feel grounded. It reveals where your identity is anchored, not in shifting circumstances, but in unwavering internal truth. Many people break down when things go awry because their alignment is based on external factors. They crave control, but creators understand that true power comes from the energy you carry, not from what's happening around you. When chaos strikes, the environment may become noisy, but your task isn't to quiet the world, it's to stabilize your own signal. Return to the identity you've embraced, the version of yourself that doesn't depend on calm to feel sure, who doesn't wait for clarity to act with purpose. You don't let the storm dictate your energy. Instead, you let your energy reshape the storm. To maintain your creative energy amidst chaos, you become the eye of the hurricane, present and powerful. You observe the chaos around you without losing your inner stability. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "Who do I get to be in this moment?" That shift alone pulls you away from reaction and puts you back in control. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means not becoming overwhelmed by them. You experience fear without feeding it, and you hold space for uncertainty without becoming unstable. You remind yourself, we've been here before and we rise anyway. You've prepared for this, not through comfort, but through consistency. You anchor into rituals, take a breath before responding, and check your energy before acting. You ask, does this next step come from fear or from who I truly am? And you choose the path that keeps your energy coherent, even when everything around you seems chaotic. In moments like these, many people abandon their energy, but if you hold on, if you stay rooted in the truth of who you are, even when life doesn't seem to cooperate, something powerful occurs. You begin to shape the chaos. The noise dims down, and everything starts to align. Not because you fixed it, but because you never left your core long enough to let it define you. Chaos is not the end, it's a test. When you can remain the signal in any storm, reality starts to honor your consistency. You've shown that you're aligned not just when things are easy, but also when everything else forgets what alignment means. The quantum field isn't mystical, it's mechanical. It doesn't respond to hope, effort, or potential. It responds to certainty. Not the kind you fake to impress yourself, not the kind that wavers under stress, but the kind that resides in your body as a calm, unwavering knowledge. The kind that doesn't ask, will this happen, because it already knows it is happening. That's the energy the quantum responds to. That's the signal that reshapes timelines. And that's how you step into the field with strength. Most people enter the quantum field with conditions. They say they want something, but beneath that desire is a series of mental negotiations. As long as it doesn't require, as long as it's not too difficult, and I feel prepared, the field aligns not with conditions, but with coherence. Coherence exists only when your body, thoughts, and energy are in sync. You don't step into the quantum field by just hoping for better circumstances. You enter by embodying the version of yourself who already experiences those circumstances. That version doesn't hesitate, doesn't seek signs, and doesn't look for reassurance. They are the reassurance. Their presence signals to the field, which mirrors that back without hesitation. This is why timelines can shift swiftly. As soon as you fully align with the identity that matches your vision, reality begins to bend toward it, not gradually, but instantly. You may not see the complete outcome right away, yet the shift in momentum, opportunity, and alignment starts immediately, because the quantum realm doesn't move slowly. It operates at the speed of decision. But that decision must be genuine. It must resonate within your being, not just be spoken. If you declare, "This is my year," yet still harbor doubts from last year's disappointments, the field picks up on the doubt, not the declaration. It responds to the dominant vibration, your consistent signal, not just your peak moments. Stepping into the quantum field with certainty means rejecting anything that contradicts the reality you've chosen. It involves refusing to dwell on thoughts, stories, or emotions that belong to the version of you who didn't believe this was already accomplished. You don't fight those thoughts, you simply stop identifying with them. They're echoes, not directives. You replace waiting with action, wondering with certainty, and hoping with becoming. From that energy, life begins to flow, not because you forced it, but because you finally matched the field with a powerful enough signal to reshape it. The quantum doesn't hesitate, it reflects. The question is, what are you asking it to reflect? When your certainty becomes louder than your fear, the field responds not with resistance, but with recognition. And from that recognition, the impossible starts to feel inevitable. Not because you wished harder, but because you became the version of yourself who doesn't need to wish at all. You don't communicate with the universe through words. You speak through emotion long before reality shifts. Reality is tuned into the energy of your feelings. You might have organized thoughts, written goals, and affirmations repeating in your mind, but if your emotions are off-key, the message gets lost. Here's the truth many overlook. Reality listens through feelings. It doesn't respond to your words. It reacts to the emotions you're sending out. Emotion acts as the amplifier for your frequency, connecting thoughts to their forms. A thought without emotion is like a signal without volume, weak, inconsistent, and easily ignored. But when a thought is fueled by strong emotion, it becomes magnetic, drawing the field into alignment with it. You're doing this every single day. Your feelings about money create patterns, and your feelings about relationships reflect back in your life. You may think you're reacting to the events around you, but life is actually responding to the emotions you hold beneath your actions and expectations. The challenge is that many attempt to manifest from feelings that are misaligned. They might say, "I want abundance," but feel anxious, scarce, or unworthy. That's the true signal. The desire is just the surface. The emotion carries the message, and the field responds to that deeper signal. To align the field, you need to align yourself. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to be positive or pushing down real emotions. It means becoming aware of your emotional baseline and learning how to shift it, not to chase a fleeting feeling, but to understand how your feelings are shaping your reality. This is not about denying pain or pretending to be okay. It's about consciously choosing the emotional state you live in every day. Emotional awareness is your creative superpower. When you're aware of what you're feeling, you can shift it, breathe through it, and transform it. But when you ignore those feelings, they become the silent code that shapes your reality without your consent. You've felt this before. On days when you felt light, clear, and grateful, everything seemed to align effortlessly. That wasn't luck. It was the field responding to your clear emotional signal, fully in tune. Conversely, on days when things felt heavy or stuck, that wasn't failure. It was feedback from the field indicating that your emotional tone needed a reset. Thus, if you want to change what appears in your life, focus on transforming what you feel. Consider your performance not merely as an act, but as a way of being. Ask yourself, what would I feel if this were already mine? Then, anchor into that feeling repeatedly until it becomes your new normal. When your emotions align with your desires, the universe hears you clearly. Once it hears you, it delivers precisely and without delay. Reality is always listening. So, what emotions are you channeling into your existence? Many stand outside their desires, waiting for something to draw them in. They view the life they want as if it's separated by a glass wall, visible yet out of reach. They think, once I arrive there, I'll feel it. Once it materializes, I'll become it. But that's not how creation unfolds. You don't linger outside the life you crave, waiting for an invitation. Instead, you energetically and emotionally step into it, embodying it first. You live within your creation, allowing reality to catch up. You've been taught to see your goals as distant destinations, causing you to create from the outside in. You think about what needs to happen before you can feel free, abundant, confident, fulfilled. Yet when you do this, you postpone the manifestation. The universe doesn't deliver what you view from afar. It delivers what you inhabit. Creation comes from the inside out, not by observing what's lacking, but by becoming what already exists in the unseen. The moment you step into your creation, not just as an idea, but as a frequency, you start living in the vibration of your desired outcome, and that changes everything. You communicate differently, you make different choices, and you move as someone who already knows. Living inside the creation means you don't wait to feel that it's working. You feel it working. Because of that, it begins to unfold. You stop searching for signs, stop needing evidence, and stop indulging in doubt. You've already entered the realm of your vision, and don't retreat to check if the door will open again. You may have lived outside your creation for ages, believing it's on its way, thinking it's close. But being close isn't the goal. It's all about frequency. You could be physically miles away, yet mentally just 5 minutes from it. It's not about distance. It's about dimension, and your dimension is defined by your state of being. To live within your creation is to treat it as a reality, not in the future, not contingent on everything going perfectly, but right now. You respond to life from the version of you that already exists in that space. Live in the reality you desire, even if the world hasn't shown it yet. Your field has already reflected it, and the field always comes first. You don't have to visualize constantly or plead with the universe. Instead, you need to step in fully and boldly, holding that frequency long enough for it to become your default, not just a goal. When you shift from being an observer to truly living as a resident of that reality, the outside world no longer appears like a distant dream, but feels like home. You're not meant to orbit around your vision. You're meant to inhabit it, because that's where creation becomes real. You're not waiting for your future self to show up. You are meant to embody that version of yourself right now. Not when the results arrive or when everything falls into place, but in this breath, in this moment, as you walk as your future self. Being present is the quickest way to collapse timelines. Your future self is already here in the field. The sooner you start thinking, walking, and making decisions like that version of you, the sooner reality will reflect that back to you. Many keep their future selves at arm's length, speaking about who they want to be as if they'll meet them someday, when life gives them the green light, when money flows in, confidence appears, or pain diminishes. But that's not how transformation works. You don't become your future self after life changes. Life shifts because you stepped into that identity. You've already felt it in flashes. The moments you embody your courage over fear, when you make choices from a place of trust rather than survival, and when you enter a space and feel your energy transform, not due to outside changes, but because you did. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a preview of your future self taking charge. The more you allow that version to lead, the more your life aligns with that purpose. Walking as your future self doesn't mean pretending. It means tuning in. Ask yourself, what does the version of me living my vision feel like? How do they move? What do they say? What do they accept? And what do they let go of? Then, moment by moment, make choices from that perspective. You don't need to do this perfectly. Consistency is key. Anchor into that identity, allowing it to shape your posture, your pace, your tone. Treat your current life as a sacred training ground, where every interaction becomes an opportunity to embody that future self. Every choice you make is a vote for the version of you that has already arrived. Over time, the gap closes, and the person you once chased becomes who you are, leading the world to treat you accordingly. This happens not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. That's how this field operates. It doesn't wait for circumstances to shift, but reacts to your self-image. So stop placing your future self high on a pedestal. Invite them in, walk alongside them, speak with their voice, and make decisions as they would. Let them be your standard, not just a destination. The longer you postpone feeling like them, the longer you delay becoming them. This isn't about acting. It's about accessing the wisdom, frequency, and presence of the version of you who no longer questions if it's happening because they've already become it. When you live this way long enough, your future doesn't just unfold, it starts to follow your lead. Every creator faces a moment when their internal world has transformed, but the external world hasn't caught up yet. You've chosen a new identity, aligned with a new frequency, and you're moving as the version of you that already has what you desire. But the evidence isn't visible yet. The money hasn't arrived, the opportunity hasn't appeared, and the breakthrough remains hidden. In that space, doubt can sneak in. This is when the real work begins, not in creating the outcome, but in maintaining your state while the outcome manifests. Reality comes with a delay. It's not a personal thing or a punishment. It's simply physics. Your frequency shifts immediately, but the physical world takes time to rearrange itself. Most people don't push through this gap. They align for a few days, then start looking for signs, and when nothing shows up quickly enough, they slump back into their old identity, not because they failed, but because they confused the delay with a deficiency. Those who maintain alignment, even when the reflection hasn't changed, are the ones who collapse timelines. The field doesn't react to your need for proof, it responds to your consistency. The more you hold the signal of your future self, the faster the world mirrors it, not because you forced it, but because you stayed true to it. To maintain your state, stop measuring your alignment by what you observe. Stop asking, "Where is it?" and start affirming, "It's already mine." Detach from timelines, loosen your grip on conditions, and repeatedly return to that frequency. This is where most of the transformation takes place, not when you finally achieve your goal, but in the quiet moments in between. It's during the stillness, in that space where it seems like nothing is happening, yet everything is shifting. This is where your nervous system learns to trust in the unseen. This is where your sense of identity solidifies, where you become unshakable, not because you've reached the result, but because you've first become that result. Maintaining your state requires active recalibration. It's about recognizing when your thoughts drift back into doubt and choosing not to engage with them. It's about resisting the impulse to seek out proof and simply breathing instead. It's reminding yourself, even in this moment, I know who I am, even when things are quiet, even when progress feels slow. And as you sustain that energy longer than what you've previously experienced, something shifts. Your reflection begins to change, not as a reward, but as a reaction, because you've held the signal long enough for the universe to acknowledge your new normal. While reality may take its time to catch up, your identity doesn't have to waver. Keep holding firm, keep knowing, keep being. The moment you choose to maintain that state, no matter the circumstances, is the moment reality begins to rush toward you. Change doesn't just happen because you wish for it. It occurs because you cultivate certainty about it, not during fleeting bursts of motivation, but through the quiet, consistent decisions you make each day to embody a new truth. That's where rituals come into play, not as mere routines or superstitions, but as anchors of certainty, structures that remind both the universe and you who you are and what reality you've chosen. This is how you establish your reality through rituals of certainty. Most people react to life. They wake up and consult the world before connecting with their own truth. They allow the news, the numbers, or their emails to dictate their mood, causing them to drift. One day they feel aligned, and the next they don't, not due to a lack of clarity, but because they lack anchoring. A ritual isn't about performance, it's about being present. It's a daily affirmation of the reality you've chosen, regardless of what's unfolding around you. Your rituals don't need to be complex. They simply need to be intentional. Just a few minutes of stillness each morning to tune into the version of yourself who already possesses what you're inviting into your life. Daily affirmations aren't about pleading with the universe. They're reminders to yourself of who you are now. It's a movement, a mantra, a breath, a visualization, whatever keeps you grounded in the feeling of having already achieved your desires. When you consistently show up to your reality, it begins to respond in kind, not because the rituals hold magic, but because you do. With enough repetition, infused with emotional clarity and inner conviction, you set a new baseline for yourself. This relaxes your nervous system, stabilizes your identity, and the universe mirrors that you've done this before. A version of you is anchored in through repetition. Often, though, this happens unconsciously. You may rehearse fear, replay feelings of lack, and obsessively check your bank account, seeking signs of failure. These are misaligned rituals, too. So the aim is not just to build new habits, but to replace those old energetic patterns with ones that reinforce certainty, not survival. Your rituals become sacred when they transition from routine actions to true expressions of who you are. You don't light a candle just to hope it works. You do it because that's what the version of you who's living your desired life would do. You don't journal to fix your reality. You write to affirm the reality you've already embraced. Certainty is cultivated, not stumbled upon, and your rituals are the foundational bricks that anchor your frequency. When the world tries to drag you back into doubt, these rituals keep you stable. If evidence seems delayed, they remind you that you're not on the path to becoming. You've already become. With that mindset, reality aligns with you, not someday, not if, but inevitably, because you've reinforced it time and again until it's undeniable. The version of you that's already achieved your goals isn't hoping, waiting, or searching for signs. They simply exist, living and receiving. Once you master the energy of already having, you stop vibrating from a place of longing and instead resonate with a sense of ownership. The universe doesn't hold back on that energy. It responds with effortless reflections that match your vibration. This is the key to manifestation that many overlook. You don't receive what you desire. You attract what you are. Desire implies a gap, suggesting distance, and that sense of not having becomes the frequency the universe responds to, even while you visualize, affirm, and meditate. If your main energy is still in the mindset of waiting, then waiting becomes your reality, not because you're wrong or unworthy, but because the signal isn't complete. The energy of already having feels different. It's calm, not frantic or needy. It comes from a place of trust, from quiet confidence. When you embody this energy, you stop seeking proof because you've become the proof. You carry yourself as if the outcome is already achieved and the world responds to that energy. Mastering this energy means you start thinking, speaking, and moving from your desired outcome instead of towards it. You let go of the identity of the one who chases and step into the identity of the one who is already aligned. Your choices change, your emotions settle, and your nervous system relaxes, not because of something outside you, but because you've stopped living in lack. This doesn't mean you're pretending. It means accessing the feelings you believe the manifestation will bring you and choosing to embody those feelings now. Peace, power, confidence, and freedom aren't emotions that come after the result. They are the catalysts for the result. You attract what you emotionally normalize, and the more you can feel as if it's already yours, the quicker your outer world reflects that inner truth. You've experienced this before, moments when you just knew things would work out, feeling calm and assured, radiating that energy of already having, and watching everything unfold as you expected. That wasn't coincidence. That was alignment and frequency doing their work. So if things seem stuck, ask yourself if you're living in the frequency of having or in the emotion of waiting. Be honest, then gently shift. Breathe into the version of you who isn't questioning if it will happen. They're choosing how to enjoy it now that it has. When you master the energy of already having, you collapse the gap between desire and reality. You're no longer rehearsing for the future. You're embodying your present. The field obediently reflects who you are, not what you wish for. Be it now, hold it now, live it now, because the version of you who already has it was never waiting. They were simply remembering. Wanting is where many people get stuck. They believe desire is the start of manifestation, but they don't realize that lingering and wanting is what keeps their desires at a distance. Wanting feels like focus, like clarity. The field comes first. It's like ambition, sending a clear message that I'm not yet there. The universe, precise as ever, reflects that feeling back, keeping what you truly want just out of reach. Wanting implies a sense of lack. At some point, you come to understand that true manifestation doesn't stem from wanting more. It flows from being more confident, more in touch, more aligned with the version of you that no longer desires the thing because you're already living it. This marks the end of wanting. It's the moment you transition from desire to fulfillment, not because the physical item has appeared, but because your inner state has already shifted. When desire is fulfilled in advance, you stop pursuing, seeking, or pleading with the universe for change. Instead, you channel your energy into radiating completeness. You don't merely wish for love, you embody the feeling of being loved. You don't just crave wealth, you carry yourself as someone who fully trusts in money. That small yet powerful shift collapses timelines, as the quantum realm doesn't deliver to those waiting. It responds to those who live in the essence of already having. This doesn't mean you eliminate your desires, it means you evolve them. You cease to use them as proof of what's missing and start seeing them as reflections of who you are becoming. You respect your desires, but instead of pushing them to the future, you draw them into the present. You allow yourself to feel what it would be like if it were already done, and you let that feeling be sufficient, not because you're settling, but because you've stopped resisting. You might have experienced this already. The instant you let go of needing it, the moment you stopped pursuing, it found you. Not because you stopped caring, but because you shifted out of lack. You no longer needed desire to validate anything. You became the person who had already received it. and in that transformation, everything aligned. The end of wanting isn't the close of creation, it's the dawn of embodiment. You transition from living in the energy of not yet to embracing the frequency of now. Desire remains, but it transforms from a gap into a gravitational pull that you attract with resonance, not longing. When desire is fulfilled in advance, you no longer wish, you remember, and that remembrance is what shapes the future into reality, not through chasing it, but by the profound realization that you already are. You were never waiting, you were always evolving until you fully became. Most people look for external proof before they embrace their transformation. They wait to feel successful until the money arrives, to feel loved until the relationship begins, or to feel powerful until they gain recognition. But that's not how reality works. It doesn't show you who you aspire to be, it reflects back who you've decided to be. The change doesn't come when life mirrors your identity, but when you project it, even before the reflection appears. To project your identity means embodying the truth of who you've chosen to be, even when your surroundings haven't changed yet. It involves moving and speaking as if you already inhabit the reality you desire, not to deceive the universe, but because you've made the internal transformation. The universe responds not to your wants, but to your embodiment. You don't have to wait for the world to catch up before you start living as the version of yourself who already has everything you seek. You step into your identity boldly, radiating it so clearly that what reflects back to you becomes inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it before it had the chance to take shape. Many delay their true selves, holding back confidence until they've earned it, withholding joy until certain events happen, postponing peace until the timing is perfect. However, creation doesn't operate on delay, it thrives on decision. Once you decide who you are, the world begins to adjust, slowly at first, then all at once, but only when your energy is stable and consistent. Radiating your identity isn't about pretending. It's not a fake it till you make it mindset. It's about tuning into the truth that lies within you. The future version of yourself, the one who already has what you desire, isn't a fantasy, it's a frequency. When you live from that frequency now, you draw your desired reality closer. The mirror won't shift first, you will. So stop waiting for validation, searching for signs, or checking progress updates. Instead, become the signal. You enter every room embodying the confidence of someone who no longer doubts, acting in alignment with the version of you who already has everything you want, radiating the energy of completion. And life starts to mold around that energy. You've done this before, that moment when you chose. When you carry yourself in a new way, people respond in ways they can't quite explain. That's not just a coincidence. That's your identity taking charge. When you project your true self before it's mirrored back to you, you change the process of creation. You stop reacting and start generating. What once felt distant starts to shift around you, not because reality is changing by itself, but because you are. You become the signal, guiding the reflection, and eventually the world aligns with you. True power doesn't shout. It doesn't plead or prove itself. It operates quietly, precisely, unmistakably. That's the essence of energetic authority. Not about domination or performance, but about the subtle command of someone who deeply understands themselves and no longer looks for validation from others. This isn't about controlling anyone. It's about aligning so closely with your own frequency that everything around you starts to match it. Energetic authority isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. It's your natural state before conditioning made you question yourself or seek permission. It's the presence you regain when you stop giving your power away to circumstances, when you no longer need your surroundings to validate your truth before you embrace it. Many individuals communicate from a place of uncertainty, moving with fragmented energy, trying to manifest while doubting their worth and seeking approval. As a result, their energy field becomes unstable, not because they're flawed, but because they've forgotten how to maintain their energy, not just visit it, but hold it steady and anchored. Energetic authority is the craft of sustaining your vibration without chasing outcomes. You don't need to persuade anyone or seek understanding. You move with confidence, and the environment adapts. People respond differently, opportunities come your way, and perfect timing reveals itself, not through force, but because your energy becomes the most powerful presence in the room. Even in silence, you've experienced this. The person who enters and instantly changes the mood without uttering a word, or the friend whose gentle words carry significant weight. That's not charm. That's energetic clarity. It's someone who has decided to stop bargaining with their truth and instead live from it. To master this subtle art, you must first be aware of what you're projecting, not just the facade or the words, but the essence beneath it all. Are you moving through life with trust or tension, in autonomy or performance? Are your words coming from your center or from a desire for approval? Real authority isn't rigid, it's grounded. It doesn't need to shout because it's already acknowledged. It doesn't chase because it understands. And when you carry that energy into your daily life, others feel it. Life feels it. Your presence sends a signal, and the environment aligns around your steadiness. This isn't about performance. It's about adopting a stance, a frequency, a choice to stop just explaining and to truly embody your essence. As your inner authority solidifies, external chaos struggles to pull you off your path. Energetic authority isn't about control. It's about harmony. It's not about dominating the conversation. It's about being the clearest voice. When you embody this clarity, the universe responds, not with resistance, but with respect, because it mirrors those who lead from the inside. The world doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to who you are. Every moment, your reality reflects your internal state, not as punishment or reward, but as a straightforward reflection. This is the mirror principle, and mastering it means moving from reacting to life to understanding it. You begin to see that nothing occurs by chance. Every delay, every chance, every interaction offers feedback. It's your environment communicating with you. The clearer your energy, the sharper the reflection. Many people live as though the world is separate from them, trying to fix external issues without examining their internal projections. They inquire, "Why is this happening to me?" instead of questioning, "What is this revealing in me?" Life isn't done to you. It flows through you, aligned perfectly with your prevailing vibration. You don't attract what you voice. You attract what you emit through your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and identity. Mastering the mirror demands honesty and radical self-awareness. It requires the willingness to accept responsibility, not only for your actions, but for your energy. If you face persistent resistance, consider if you're holding on to resistance yourself. If people overlook you, perhaps you're not fully listening to your own voice. If opportunities continue to fade, it may be that you haven't anchored the identity that feels safe in receiving them. This isn't about judgment, it's about understanding. The mirror exists not to shame you, but to guide you. When you start using the mirror as a tool instead of a trap, everything changes. You stop arguing with yourself, and you stop reacting to surface-level events. Instead, you take a step back, observe, and understand that the world reflects the energy you hold. So you adjust your energy, not to manipulate reality, but to align with the version of it you truly want to experience. This is the secret of the most aligned people you know. They don't wait for the world to change. They shift what they're projecting. They work on their self-image, emotional tone, and energetic signature. They don't ask the world for something new. They become someone new, and the world follows suit. Think about those days when you felt clear and grounded. Everything responded effortlessly. But on chaotic, anxious days, the world mirrored that discomfort as well. It's not a coincidence, it's a code. Master that code, and you won't be surprised by what happens. You'll lead the mirror instead. So, the next time life reflects something painful or unwanted, don't resist it. Read it, understand it, then shift your energy. Hold a new frequency long enough, and the mirror will reflect not who you were, but who you've chosen to become. Success isn't meant to feel like a struggle. You weren't meant to suffer your way into alignment. Yet, many believe that if it doesn't hurt, it isn't real, that if you didn't bleed for it, it doesn't count. They confuse exhaustion with achievement and force with value. But the truth is much simpler and more radical. True success comes from frequency, not force. When you grasp this, you stop chasing results and start becoming the signal that naturally attracts them. Effort has its place. It can move the physical, but frequency moves the entire field. The quantum realm doesn't respond to hard work, it responds to alignment. You can hustle for months and still feel stuck if your energy is misaligned, while you can do less and receive more if your field is clean and calibrated to the version of you that already has what you desire. Force says, I don't trust it will come unless I control everything. Frequency says, it's already mine, and I act accordingly. One pushes, one pulls. One exhausts, one magnetizes. You might find that results come effortlessly when you embrace sustainability and flow. Think about that job that came your way when you stopped stressing, or the relationship that developed once you let go. Remember the breakthrough that happened when you eased up. These moments weren't random. They were the direct result of shifting from force to frequency, from doing to being. The reason force struggles over time is that it operates from a place of separation, believing that what you want is distant and must be chased relentlessly. But frequency is rooted in wholeness. It closes that gap. When your inner state aligns with the reality you desire, there's nothing left to pursue. It's only about alignment, which builds momentum without burnout. Success that flows comes not from hard work, but from embodying the version of yourself that already lives in that outcome. The actions you take are not about proving yourself. They are expressions of what's already true. That's the key difference. You aren't forcing others to see you. You're presenting yourself as someone who already knows their worth, and the world adjusts in response. The real shift occurs when you stop gauging success by effort and start evaluating it based on alignment. If you feel drained and are constantly battling for progress, it's not a cue to push harder. It's a signal to pause, recalibrate, and reconnect with your center. You weren't meant to hustle your way to the life you desire. You should tune into it emotionally and energetically, allowing that frequency to direct your actions. Once the signal is clear, success isn't something to chase. It's something you naturally receive, again and again, effortlessly. Not because you worked harder, but because you finally stopped working against yourself. You've likely been told that to stand out, you need to do more effort, more visibility, more grinding. But the reality is, the most magnetic individuals are not the busiest. They are the ones who are simply being. They've activated a frequency that is so clear, stable, and aligned that they can't be overlooked. Not because they are louder, but because they are more grounded. Becoming undeniable has little to do with your actions and everything to do with who you've chosen to become. Many confuse movement with power, thinking that success is all about quantity, more content, more outreach, more hours. Effort might bring results, but it seldom creates true resonance. Resonance arises from energy, from your identity, and from an internal transformation that declares, "This is who I am now," so clearly that reality must reflect it. You become undeniable, not by piling on effort, but by removing contradictions. When your energy, beliefs, identity, and choices align, you generate coherence, and coherence is magnetic. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about evolving into someone whose truth is so aligned that the world senses it without you needing to utter a word. Consider those individuals who captivate you, who command attention upon entering a room. It's not their actions, it's their essence. Their presence holds gravity. Their energy speaks before their words do. That's not just charisma, that's embodiment. This occurs when you shift your focus from pursuing outcomes to becoming the person who effortlessly attracts them. Being undeniable isn't about expanding your list of tasks. It's about deepening your commitment to your own frequency. You cease to dilute your signal with doubt. You stop changing your identity depending on your audience. You no longer tailor your truth to accommodate the space around you. Instead, you embody the space itself, becoming the anchor, the signal that others resonate with. This doesn't mean you don't take action. It means every step you take is intentional, precise, and grounded in your chosen identity rather than insecurity. You don't disperse your energy aimlessly, hoping something works out. You direct your energy like a focused beam, calm and powerful. Because your field is stable, your results become certain. You've likely already tapped into this version of yourself at moments when you stepped into an interview and simply embraced who you are, or when you shared your truth unapologetically, causing everyone to lean in. That wasn't a performance. It was your pure essence shining through. So if you want to become undeniable, stop seeking the next task. Instead, ask yourself what the version of you that's already undeniable would cease apologizing for and fully become that, quietly and consistently. Not for the sake of being seen, but because you've recognized that visibility is a natural result of authenticity. Undeniability doesn't stem from more effort. It comes from less resistance to your true self. Detachment doesn't imply indifference. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming, wanting, or feeling. True detachment is not emotional aloofness. It's the clarity of your energy and the ability to embrace it fully. To hold a vision, express a desire, and move toward a timeline without grasping it. Chaos and calibration. This embodies the essence of quantum boundaries. You're not pushing people or outcomes away. You're simply deciding not to let your energy drop when things don't unfold as your mind anticipated. Many confuse detachment with apathy, believing that letting go equates to giving up. As a result, they either hold on tightly or disengage completely. Yet neither of these states are in alignment. Clinging is resistance and indifference is disconnection. Quantum boundaries exist in the middle, in the space where you can genuinely desire something but not require it to feel fulfilled. You can be clear about your wants, but you remain unfazed if it takes longer, takes a different shape, or moves out of your reach because your attachment is not to the form, but to the frequency. Operating from this place amplifies your power. You're not driven by reactions. You don't spiral when a message goes unanswered, and you don't chase after delayed opportunities. You hold your signal and stay rooted in your chosen identity, allowing life to respond to that steadiness. You've stopped sending mixed signals into the universe. Detachment isn't a passive state. It's one of the most active practices in quantum creation. It takes strength to declare, I still want this, but I won't shrink without it. This distinction sets creators apart from reactors. A creator knows how to remain open without leaking energy. They can let go without losing their alignment and experience full desire while maintaining full peace. Quantum boundaries safeguard your frequency, not from others, but from your former self, your habits of reaching, needing, fixing, and proving. They remind you that your reality is not dictated by external actions. It's shaped by internal mastery. Mastery means staying in your vibration, even when results take time. You felt the shift the moment you stopped obsessively checking the clock, the day you stopped being the one to text first, not out of spite, but from a place of sovereignty. That launch you released without overthinking, only to see it surpass every expectation. That wasn't magic. That was quantum detachment. That was your boundary affirming, I trust what's aligned will remain, and what departs was never meant to resonate with my frequency. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about achieving clarity. It's about understanding your worth so profoundly that you no longer seek validation. You still love, you still want, you still dream, but you cease the grasping, pouring energy into outcomes. And from that state of effortless focus, things accelerate, not because you're chasing them, but because you grant them space to settle. Detachment isn't the end of connection. It's the start of creation without control, bounded yet magnetic and free. There's a frequency that can't be imitated. It requires no convincing, no applause. It moves silently but powerfully, never chasing or wavering. It simply exists. This is the essence of unwavering truth, the energy of someone who is completely in tune with who they are, what they believe in, and who they've chosen to become. When you embody that energy, the universe responds without hesitation. Most people operate on unstable ground. They express one thing, feel another, and act from a different place. Their energy is fragmented. Their truth is conditional. They appear confident until questioned, clear until met with disagreement, and certain until results fail to appear. In that uncertainty, their frequency becomes difficult to interpret. The quantum field reflects that back with confusion, delays, or static, not as punishment, but as accuracy. The field doesn't showcase what you wish were true. It reveals what you truly know. Unshakable truth isn't loud. It's not a performance. It's the serene confidence of someone who has stopped negotiating with doubt, someone who doesn't seek external approval to just be. When you carry this vibration, your energy speaks before you do. It conveys certainty and commands harmony, prompting the world to rearrange, not because you demanded it, but because your presence allowed no space for contradiction. This is not about stubbornness, it's about alignment. When you reside in unshakable truth, there's no need for resistance. You don't argue or endlessly justify. You simply emanate a clarity so strong that resistance fades away. People either rise to meet it or drift away, but you remain steady. You've experienced this, the moment you spoke from your essence without caring who agreed, or the choice you made with complete confidence, even when it made no logical sense. The time you declared no more, and everything shifted. That was your unshakable truth, resonating through the field more powerfully than words ever could. To live in that vibration, you must stop seeking validation in outcomes. You don't wait for results to feel secure. You don't need success to prove your alignment. You determine what is real for you and live from it unapologetically. That choice becomes your foundation. Your anchor is where all creation begins. The more you embody this energy, the fewer tests life presents you because it no longer has a need to. You've found your stability, and you're sending clear signals. The universe, always attentive, starts to reflect the consistency you've developed. Being unshakable doesn't mean you have every answer. It means you no longer question your existence. It's not about what you know with your mind. It's about the energy you embody. When that energy becomes your default, reality shifts. Not because you demanded it, but because it became necessary. This is the essence of someone who's not waiting to be chosen. They already are, and the world responds immediately and unmistakably. Synchronicity isn't mere chance. It's not luck or the universe toying with your day. It's feedback, clear, intelligent, and precise. It reflects your internal alignment, signaling that something within your frequency has clicked into place. Once you grasp this, synchronicities transform from coincidences into conversations. The field is always communicating. The question is whether you're listening. Too many people treat synchronicities as magic, noticing repeating numbers or perfectly timed encounters, wondering about their significance. But the truth is, they carry no meaning unless you give them one. Synchronicity doesn't predict what's coming. It signals what's already unfolding. It indicates that your internal state has reached such coherence that the external world begins to mirror it. Alignment always comes before synchronicity. When your thoughts, feelings, and identity come together, when your energy is steady and clear, the field responds with flow. Opportunities appear, people show up, and things fall into place effortlessly, not because you're chasing them, but because you've evolved into someone who naturally receives them. You've felt this. You think of someone, and they call. You set an intention, and something relevant materializes in no time. That's not a coincidence, that's resonance. The frequency you're holding has become potent enough to create ripples that return in visible, tangible forms. That ripple is synchronicity. But here's where many miss the mark. They notice synchronicity, feel the excitement, and then start searching for more. In doing so, they shift out of alignment and back into lack, causing the field to stop responding. You're not facing challenges because you did something wrong. Rather, it's about the disruption of coherence that muddles the signal. To maintain alignment, embrace synchronicity for what it is, a feedback loop. It's not about proving anything or seeking validation. It's about recognizing you're already tuned into the right frequency. So when synchronicity appears, don't chase it. Instead, ground yourself in it and say, "Of course." Smile, take a deep breath, and let it pass like a gentle breeze, knowing that more is on the way. Not because you asked for it, but because you matched the energy. The feedback loop sharpens as you anchor yourself in your true identity. When you truly understand who you are and what you've chosen, the field communicates without ambiguity. Synchronicities become so ordinary that you no longer see them as signs. You recognize them as alignment. This marks a shift from seeking clues to confidently reading the signals, from questioning your path to observing the pattern. The more neutral your energy, the more vividly you'll perceive synchronicities. They're not indicators of your journey. They confirm you're already there. So welcome them, let them resonate, and allow them to remind you that the world is not separate from you. It's a mirror reflecting the frequency you bravely hold. Reality is always communicating, offering you feedback in every moment, every situation, every delay, every conversation, and every outcome. Many don't hear it, not because it's absent, but because they're looking through the wrong lens, seeing life as something done to them rather than as a reflection of them. Once you grasp the concept of the mirror, you uncover something profound. Your current reality is a report, a readout, a tool for calibration. If you learn to analyze it, you can transform it immediately. This is the practice of reality feedback, viewing your life as data rather than judgment. People tend to experience contrast and label it as failure. They face resistance and think something is wrong. But resistance isn't a form of punishment. It's about precision. If you've been aligned with a certain frequency and life hasn't changed, the field is giving you insights, not to frustrate you, but to refine you. It reveals which aspects of your energy remain unclear, conditional, or unconsciously tied to an old identity. When you see your life as feedback rather than a fact, everything becomes flexible. You stop reacting to what arises and start interpreting it. If a pattern keeps replaying, it's not majarad coincidence. When the universe tests you, it's a sign that your vibration is still sending out that familiar pattern. If people keep treating you in a certain way, it isn't personal, it's vibrational. Their interactions with you reflect how you've been treating yourself on an energetic level. To fine-tune your creation, you need to be brutally honest about the signal you're currently sending, not what you wish to send, but the reality of what you are. Consider your dominant emotional state and the identity you consistently embody. Think about the stories you tell yourself, even in silence. Your reality is a direct reflection of those answers. It's not random, it aligns perfectly. To change your reflection, you don't need to control the external world. You just need to shift your inner frequency. But you can only shift what you acknowledge. That's why the audit is important. It's not about blaming yourself, it's about gaining self-awareness. When you're triggered, ask, what does this reveal about my beliefs? When things flow effortlessly, ask, what was I embodying that made this feel inevitable? These inquiries turn your life into a roadmap rather than a mystery. You've likely already made these calibrations without realizing it. When you changed your self-concept, your relationship transformed. When you released an old belief, abundance flowed in. That wasn't magic, it was alignment. It was reality responding to a clearer signal. So, don't judge your life. Read it, audit it. Let it show you where you still hesitate and where you already know, because reality is honest. It doesn't punish, it simply reflects. Audit the reflection, and when you learn how to read that report, you'll learn how to rewrite the code, not by force, but by adjusting your frequency with clarity, intention, and power. Most people create from a place of need. They desire money because they feel broke, love because they feel alone, or clarity because they feel lost. While it's okay to want more, the energy behind that desire shapes what follows. When you create from need, you reinforce the very state you're trying to escape. The signal you send is one of lack, and the universe consistently reflects that back, bringing more waiting, more lack, and more of what you don't want. But when you create from vision, everything changes. Vision arises from alignment, not from lack. It's not about fleeing your current life, it's about expressing your true self. The next version of yourself isn't just a reaction, it's a revelation. When you create from vision, you aren't saying, I need this to feel better. Instead, you're declaring, this is who I already am, and this is how I want to express it. The energy behind creation matters. Need contracts, while vision expands. Need creates pressure, but vision builds momentum. One keeps you chasing, while the other effortlessly attracts. The universe responds not to your desire, but to your state. If your state is need, your signal is resistance. If it's vision, your signal is embodiment. Creating from vision means stepping into the version of you who doesn't rely on outcomes for completeness. You feel whole, powerful, and ready, not because you've received something, but because you've become the version of yourself who naturally attracts it. This is the shift from needing something to expressing what's already within you. You've likely felt both states. The days you acted out of desperation, where results felt forced and scattered, and the days you moved from inspiration and vision, where everything unfolded effortlessly. That wasn't coincidence. It was the field responding to the difference in your signal. Need whispers, I hope this works, while vision boldly declares, this is what's next. When you embody the latter, life rearranges itself around your certainty, not through manipulation, but because you met it with energy it could respond to. To create from vision, ask yourself, what would I build if fear wasn't a factor? What would I express if I already felt whole? That's where your true signal lies, not in the attempts to fix your life, but in allowing a higher version of you to lead it. Vision is grounded in knowing, resonance, and trust. The most powerful manifestations arise from identity, not need. They stem from clarity, not craving. So step into your vision and let it pull you forward, replacing desperation with direction. When you stop creating from lack and start from alignment, you transition from chasing results to becoming the reason they show up. Manifestation isn't an occasional task, it's a constant process, happening all the time, whether consciously or unconsciously. Every thought, every emotion, every belief sends a signal into the field. Understand this. Many see manifestation as just a tool for specific desires, missing the fact that it's the foundation of how reality is formed. The truth is, you're always manifesting. The real question is whether you're doing it intentionally or automatically. When manifestation becomes your natural way of being, you stop waiting for perfect moments to appear. You live aligned, moving through life with the awareness that your energy is constantly at work, whether you recognize it or not. It's no longer about finding alignment. It's about maintaining it, not as a chore, but as a way of life. Most people react to their circumstances, altering their energy based on what happens around them. When life feels good, they attract positivity. When it feels heavy, they shrink. Their vibration fluctuates with external events. But creators do things differently. They establish their state first, holding their energy steady and allowing the world to respond. To make manifestation your default, start by acknowledging that you're always creating. Your current reality reflects the signals you've sent in the past. So stop blaming your circumstances and judging results. Treat everything as feedback, not failure. Adjust your signal, not your environment, and do so consistently. This consistency transforms your intentions into your identity. You're no longer just setting goals, you're becoming the version of yourself who expects results to resonate with your energy. You're not forcing outcomes. You align so deeply that those outcomes start to feel inevitable because your inner world remains steady, unaffected by external conditions. You've experienced this before, the times when you didn't try, yet everything fell into place. Those moments when you simply knew something would happen, and it did. That wasn't luck. It was your natural state flowing before doubt or overthinking interrupted the process. This doesn't equate to perfection. It signifies presence and awareness, recognizing your role as the transmitter. You take responsibility for the energy you embody, the frequency from which you communicate, and the beliefs you hold. When misalignment occurs, you recalibrate, not out of fear, but with precision. Making manifestation your default isn't about striving harder. It's about becoming unavailable for anything that contradicts your chosen reality. You don't chase, you don't explain, you simply live. Life always mirrors you, and when you truly realize this, alignment becomes your foundation. Manifestation shifts from being a chore to becoming your essence, effortless, consistent, and natural. You finally remember that you've always held the magic within you. At first, no one sees it, not because it isn't there, but because it doesn't align with their perspective. When you embrace the energy of a creator, when you start to hold yourself differently, speak from a deeper understanding, and move as if your desired reality is already in place, the world may not always celebrate you. Often, it questions and sometimes resists because others only see the version of you they remember, the one filled with doubt, delay, and smallness. But you didn't change for validation. You changed for resonance. You didn't rise to be noticed. You rose because it was time. In the initial phase of embodying this shift, you must learn to navigate the silence, to maintain your frequency without needing others to reflect it back to you. Recognition trails behind vibration. When you begin living as the version of yourself who already possesses what you seek, reality starts to subtly rearrange, then shifts dramatically. People perceive you through the lens of your past, not your potential, which might lead them to question your serenity or to misunderstand your choices. They might even distance themselves, not because you're wrong, but because your new frequency feels unfamiliar. That's when many falter. They retreat and shrink to fit back into a mold, seeking comfort as they expand. But creators don't shrink for approval. They lead from alignment, allowing others to catch up at their own pace while staying grounded in their chosen identity. Eventually, the universe aligns. Reality mirrors the shift, outcomes manifest, and the evidence becomes undeniable. Suddenly, those who couldn't see before start acting as if it had always been clear. But it wasn't obvious. You made it so by embodying it long enough that the world had no choice but to recognize it. People often fail to see creators until their external reality reflects their internal strength. Yet creators don't wait for acknowledgement to stay aligned. They don't need applause to remain magnetic. They walk in quiet confidence, knowing their frequency will do the talking. And when it does, it speaks volumes. You've probably experienced those moments when you stood firm in your truth while others just didn't get it. Times when your growth made people uncomfortable, yet something inside you remained calm. That calmness was the signal, a signal that was already creating a new path, even if no one else noticed it yet. If people fail to see your power, your vision, your transformation, don't let that throw you off balance. Let it deepen your sense of self. The more fully you embrace your role as the creator, the more undeniable you become. When the reflection you've been waiting for finally comes, you won't be surprised. You'll simply smile because you knew your worth long before they did. There comes a point in your journey where the struggle fades, not because you stop creating, but because you become the creation. You no longer reach for the vision, you embody it. There's nothing left to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to wait for. You've settled into your frequency so deeply that reality no longer tests you, it mirrors you. This marks the final integration, the moment when life begins to bow, not to your will, but to your frequency. At this stage, alignment isn't something you practice, it's your very presence. You no longer wake up questioning how to return to that right state. You simply are that state. You carry it, you radiate it. What used to feel like a costume now fits like a second skin. There's no gap between what you feel and what you receive. Life has become an instant reflection of you. Your signal is unwavering now. You no longer manifest in bursts. You live in sustained magnetism. What once required effort now unfolds with ease. People behave differently around you. Opportunities present themselves without you even asking. Your reality stops resisting because there's nothing left in you to resist. You're no longer torn between who you were and who you're becoming. You've become whole. This final integration isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It arrives in the quiet, steady confirmations that show up in the little details, in easy conversations, in perfect timing, and in how your body relaxes even amidst uncertainty. You stop bracing, stop checking, stop wondering if it's working. You just know it is because you are it. What's astonishing is that nothing external seems to have changed at first, but because you've transformed, the entire world starts to shift. People begin to say things like, "There's something different about you." They can feel it too. If they can't label it as your integrated field, you've stopped striving for alignment, and you simply are. And the world reacts to that. It responds, not out of submission, but by matching your frequency with aligned opportunities, individuals who reflect it, and timelines that honor it. You don't have to force this harmony. You've become the tuning fork, and life resonates with you. This is your culmination, not merely a moment of magic, but a lifetime of coherence. You no longer fret about how things will unfold. You have faith they will, because the law of resonance is unwavering when your frequency is crystal clear and your identity is deeply rooted. You navigate life differently, not with arrogance, but with ease and stillness, embodying a quiet power that comes from no longer waiting to be chosen, because you are the chosen one. Chosen by yourself, chosen by frequency, chosen by the life that continuously rises to meet you, again and again, not due to demands, but because you finally matched it. You don't just use the creator code, you become it. It's not a method for difficult times or a practice for breakthroughs. It's not a morning routine or journaling habit, though those can support you. The code itself is deeper. It's about embodying an identity. Once you choose it, everything in your life starts to align with it. Most people treat their power like a switch, turning it on in moments of clarity and off when doubts arise. They strive for a few hours only to revert to their old selves the moment something goes awry, leading to a reality of inconsistency, a blend of desire and hesitation, potential and panic. But the creator doesn't waver. They operate from a solid foundation, an unwavering commitment to who they are, regardless of circumstances. When you live from this identity, you don't question if it's working, you don't wait for evidence, and you don't shift based on conditions. You lead, you exist, and the field reacts to that steadiness with results that feel inevitable, not because you micromanaged each step, but because your identity was clear. The creator code is about coherence, not control. When your thoughts, emotions, actions, and embodying all align with the statement, "I am the one who creates this." In reality, there's no room for contradiction. That's when manifestation becomes effortless. That's when timelines merge, and what used to take months now takes just days, because your frequency is no longer seeking permission. It's asserting authority. You felt this before, the moment you ceased performing and simply chose to be. The day you dropped into a certainty so profound that no doubt could sway it. That's your identity, and that's where the creator code guides you. It's not about a flawless journey, but about adopting a powerful stance. You're not here to put in more effort. You're here to amplify your energy, to stand firm in your truth, and to become unavailable for the narratives that belong to a smaller version of yourself. This marks the transition from fleeting alignment to permanent embodiment. It's not a part-time vibe. It's who you are when you enter a room, when you write, when you speak, when you move. You're no longer rehearsing, you're living it. When the world witnesses that, it doesn't need convincing. It simply follows your example. So stop questioning what to do next and start asking who to become next. The creator code isn't a to-do list. It's a frequency, a choice, a self-image that resonates with the universe louder than any technique ever could. When you embody it as your truth, you stop chasing results and start becoming the force that attracts them to you effortlessly. Struggle may seem noble. It may feel earned. For much of your life, you learned that struggle was the cost of achieving success, the road to transformation, the badge of honor for those who want it badly enough. So you wore it like a uniform, equating suffering with worth, believing that the harder it was, the more real it must be. But here's the reality. Struggle isn't sacred, it's just familiar, and its time has come to an end. The end of struggle doesn't mean the end of growth. It signifies the beginning of your sovereignty. Sovereignty is the awareness that you are the source, not a beggar, not a seeker, not someone waiting to be saved. It's not about control, it's about command. It's the inner shift from resisting life to harmonizing with it. You stop chasing peace, you embody it. You no longer try to earn your desires, you claim them. You cease to hand over your power to circumstances, people, or the illusion of timing, and instead, you ground yourself in the understanding that reality bends to your frequency, not your suffering. Most people remain entrapped in struggle. Struggle shapes identity. It keeps you occupied and gives you something to fight for. But that fight can turn into a loop where even when things start to go well, a quiet panic sets in. Can I maintain this? Did I truly earn it? What if it all slips away? When you're hooked on struggle, ease feels strange, and anything unfamiliar gets pushed away, no matter how right it may be. The journey to sovereignty starts when you realize you don't have to earn your freedom through suffering. You no longer need to validate your worth through weariness. You begin to navigate life from a place of calm instead of rush, clarity instead of confusion. You take action, not from emptiness, but from a place of abundance. You receive without guilt and lead without the need to perform. In this shift, everything transforms, not because life became simpler, but because you cease to resist ease. Sovereignty doesn't mean every moment is flawless. It means every moment belongs to you. You are the authority of your experience, the creator of your energy, the gatekeeper of your worth. You get to decide what remains in your life, what influences you, and what version of yourself steps into the day. When struggle truly ends, not just in actions but in belief, a spaciousness arises. A quiet certainty emerges, and this is where true power lies. It's a calm, grounded, undeniable strength that doesn't scramble for a place at the table. It transforms into the table itself. You didn't come to this world to prove your worth through pain. You came to rediscover yourself through sovereignty. You're here to create, to lead, and to maintain a frequency so harmonious that the world can't help but resonate with it. The end of struggle isn't a retreat. It's a return to the understanding that power was never something to pursue. It's always been something to remember, and now you do.